We're just gonna win games and grands.
Oh, okay.
All those top fives, we're just gonna make those wins.
What's up, Fortnite fans? Kelly Link here, joined by Batman Booga. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. Obviously, we have a lot of questions pertaining to trios. How has it been for you so far?
Honestly, I think it's a really good change because I think trios is just way more fun than duos. All the new trios and everything and like the snakening that happens, it's just like a lot more fun.
You just recently had a change of your trios. Speak to me a little bit about that.
Me and Yamzo, we were both like looking for teammates after LAN. So then we picked up Clicks and we played our first tournament together and we got second. So yeah, we're gonna see how that goes. Me, Yamzo, and Clicks.
Even though you guys have had a little bit less time kind of preparing, how do you feel like you're going to be going into Major 1 for this year?
All the top trios split. There's not really any like top 2 teams, top 3 teams, and I see a lot of potential with Clicks. So I think we'll get second.
Clicks has historically had the 4th place curse. What are you guys doing to prepare to break that curse finally?
To break the 4th place curse, we're just gonna... what are we gonna do? We're just gonna win games and grands.
Oh, okay.
All those top 5s, we're just gonna make those wins.
As far as trios competitions go, we haven't really seen you in kind of the grand finals lobbies for trios. So what are your thoughts on that?
There's like a lot of teams that have like never even played grands before in trios that are popping off. Like Shadow's team, I think they all have like 3 grands or something and they're like a top 5 team. So yeah, I just think being like a veteran or like an old trios player, like it doesn't really matter.
Speaking of mixing things up, obviously the NA region has been mixed up once again. And you used to be an NA West player, but it looks like you're sticking to NA Central. Why is that?
I just think the entire like environment of like NA Central is just more fun. Like all my friends are here, the prize pools are better, and like yeah, I just think it's like more fun, to be honest.
What are your thoughts on BloodX as your coach for this year?
BloodX is actually like such a good coach. I'm not gonna lie. I've never like worked with someone that actually like changes your life and like is like actually like a mentor, making me not as like a toxic person. So yeah, it helps.
Well, Batman Booga, thank you so much for joining me and answering my questions. For everyone that's watching right now that wants to know more about you, find where you are online, where you stream, where can people find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me at Batman Booga on like anything like Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter. So yeah, just Batman Booga.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Batman Booga. I can't wait to watch you in Major 1.
All right, thank you.
Jumping in the stands when it's game day. Better make way. The weatherman said it's a great chance of a great day and a great game. It's big time, that's that. I get it in, no cap. It's showtime, put it on the line. Buckle up, we on fire. I'm looking like game day. I'm feeling like game day. You know that I want it, embracing the moment. Don't let the band play.
What is going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome to the FNCS. Today is day number 2. After 6 games, we will crown FNCS champions, but there's also spots on the battle bus going to the global championship later on this year that we will secure for NAC. Now, obviously, big shout outs to EU. In case you missed it, Biko, Bino, Flixie, they got themselves the championship title, the Blade of Champions. And of course, we need to do that for ourselves. We need to see what happens after 6 games. Let's get your analysts in here because these players have had a night to reflect. They've had a night to kind of go back to the drawing board, rethink their strategies, and come back stronger for today. My little hummingbird heart can't take this. My little lizard brain can't comprehend all the ways this could go. So if I'm not doing great, how are you guys doing? Please be doing great.
Oh, I'm doing phenomenally. I mean, after the games that we had yesterday, some surprises, some upsets, I am so excited to see what happens with day 2. I mean, we already saw in EU how much a team can just rise the ranks. Malibuca's trio was literally in 6th place after day 1, and then they got that coveted 2nd place spot after day 2. They are going to be going to the global championships, and so I'm wondering if a team in NA can do the same.
EU proving once again that it all matters. All 12 games can make a difference, and that's what I'm excited about on NA today. I feel like the first 6 games did not disappoint at all. I feel like everything is still up in the air. We've got some obvious trios that are in the lead right now that have a good shot at taking home that championship. But 6 games separates us and that, and I can't wait to see how these go.
Dude, I can't take it. I'm already stressed, but it's fine. It's fine. I'll be stressed for us. No one else be stressed. That's my job. Okay. Let's set the stage here. So after those first 6 games yesterday, we got ourselves a little standings. We got some leaderboards to look at, and this is kind of how we ended things. Agers, Acorn, Poyo, they are sitting so far ahead of everyone else. And coming into today, I mean, I just wanted to kind of maybe take a step back, work with you guys to kind of figure out what happened, because this lead is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, it is incredible stuff, right? They just absolutely dominated yesterday, and some of the stats that kind of back that up are seriously incredible. If we go ahead and break down some of these eliminations, they were in 1st place. Damage dealt, they were in 1st place. That damage ratio, they were in 1st place as well. But the most important stat that kind of stung out to me is going to be that storm surge taken. They got hit 0 times across all 6 of those games yesterday. And that's so important, Kelly, right? I mean, like, if this team is consistently not getting hit by storm surge, that means they're constantly getting the damage. They're making it to every single one of those end games. I feel like that just means that their strategy is so good, and they're going to be able to replicate that today.
Oh yeah, and they definitely had a plan going into the early game here. A lot of that plan was revolved around the fishing there. I actually calculated how long Acorn fished, and for 5 minutes straight, he stayed at that POI, which ironically is called all you can catch.
Yeah, they love kind of playing on the edge of the zone, right on that white line, because they know players are kind of rotate in. But look how much time they actually invest staying in that same spot, actually, staying in the storm, taking that damage. And the reason why it's so important that Acorn is kind of just spending all of that time fishing is because it's like, well, one, Poyo, Agers, they're up there, they're taking shots at other teams, they're probably getting shot as well, which means that, oh, all of the extra shield fish that we have, we could just use that to replenish our shield that we've lost taking some of these storm surge trades and everything like that. But then also we can kind of just wait in the storm, wait for some of these rotating teams to kind of run by us, catch them off guard, and then, oh, look at this, we've got 1,000,000 floppers to go ahead and heal ourselves back up. Just worked so well for them yesterday.
They were just something else, man. They are something else. And I just got to hope that they bring that same energy, right? We could very well be looking at your new FNCS champions holding that Blade of Champions, but hey, still 6 games. Anything can happen. Let's talk about Muzz, Rise, and Yapko sitting in 3rd place. They were on that 391 points. And again, that's pretty far away from Pollo right now. But these guys were looking so good yesterday, almost always on height. Like, what led to their success?
Yeah, I mean, another impressive run from this team. They also did pretty well on the stats, right? You know, 5th in eliminations, so not necessarily all the way up there in the 50s like some of our other teams, but still damage dealt, damage ratio, doing very, very well in that regard. But again, that Storm Surge taken only 3 hits. Collectively, they were only struck that one time, received 25 damage each, which adds up to those 3 hits. So doing very, very well in the Storm Surge department as well.
Yeah, and a lot of that is due to their early rotations. We saw them obviously landing over in Shattered Span, and although sometimes the zone did pull in their favor, that doesn't always happen. And so they made sure to preemptively move themselves to where they knew some trios were going to be.
Yeah, and they're kind of rotates down to the south. They're all about knowing, oh, well, this team that lands all the way down here, guess what? They're going to have to run towards the center of the map at some point. If we kind of position ourselves between them and the center of the zone, they're going to have to run right by us. And if they're running right by us, guess what? We're going to be able to shoot them. We're going to be able to deal some of that damage. And as we're going to be able to see as we take a closer look at this game, they kind of just do this on repeat, right? Like, it's not just like, oh, in zone number 2 right now, we're going to do this. No, in zone number 3, we're going to do this as well. Look at where they position. They go in a little bit further than where that white line's at, and they're like, oh, look, these southern teams, they're going to get congested. They've got to go towards the center of the map at some point. We're just positioning ourselves far enough away from them to where we're not really like fighting them all that much, but we can see them and we can do so much damage.
And I do want to call out when the zone does pull in their favor towards Shattered Span, that when they're able to build these crazy towers over on the bridge right there, the aim that Muzz and Yapko have allows them to just be able to snipe these players. But even before then, they do still engage. They make sure that in case the zone doesn't pull entirely over their POI, that they're still engaging with these teams.
Yeah, and the big highlight for this game, right? Shattered Span, I think there was 2 games yesterday where they pulled zone. And that's like, oh, wow, great, this team pulled zone. But it's really not all that simple, right? Because if you're pulling zone, no teams are kind of able to rotate over to your POI, right? It's like, why are they going to do that? They're going to get congested along the edge of the map. So when you do actually pull zone, Muzz, Rise, Yapko, they know this. You got to leave your POI. And that's kind of what we're highlighting right there, is that like, oh yeah, a couple games yesterday, they pulled zone. They did not just wait around and kind of suffocate the Storm Surge. They rotated out. They even went in the Storm to get a couple of tags. They were proactive in the Storm Surge. Love to see that from this trio.
I do want to say, though, that when they did end up going back to Shattered Span and they stayed on that tower, they were in that Surge Tower for 8 minutes long. They didn't move. And again, because of the aim that they have, they were still able to get all these incredible tags. They were able to get vision. So once the end game did happen, they had great rotations on top of that. And all these mats saved up by not having to move a bunch.
I love them. I can't wait to see more of them and maybe what they bring, right, for day number 2. Now, we do want to highlight more trios, but first, we need to say hello to our casters. It's Monster D-Face. It's Jacob PR. What's up, fellas?
Everything's good over here. We had a wonderful day number 1. We're jumping in for the finals here, day 2. I feel recharged. I feel refreshed. Jacob, what about yourself?
I mean, I'm feeling good. It's not me playing, so I really don't have as much to worry about. But yesterday really showed the blueprint, the amount of excitement we're going to see. The leaderboards, where they stand right now, I feel like nobody could have guessed that.
That's right. 92 points is a lot. However, it's not that much. Acorn and team still have to play perfectly. We're talking a game's throw away from all of a sudden this being a completely different story here. So with game 7 just around the corner, the community is buzzing. They're talking about, can they maintain progress? We'll see here. Jacob, any last words?
Nope, just hopefully these guys put it all on the line. No excuses, no nerves left behind. But that's going to do it for us on the desk right now. We're going to throw it back to Zeke to let us know what more we're going to see.
Jacob thought he's a funny guy. He sent me the people's eyebrow. They're going to make me laugh. No, Jacob. But I'm going to make you laugh. We'll see. We'll see, all right? So let's keep this conversation going. We obviously have to talk about the elephant in the room, Peterbot, right? So after yesterday's games, there was kind of like different times where we would tune in with Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual. And it's interesting that like during the middle and like early game, we just see this like hyper aggressive play style, right? But then in that kind of mid to like later games, we'd see them in like situations where, you know, it's just Peterbot left as a solo, or it's a duo, or they don't have mats, or, you know, these kind of different situations. I guess my question to both of you is, with the play style we saw yesterday, could they take first place today?
Oh, 100%. I definitely think that this trio is not done and out. I mean, Vivid, I don't know if you have a differing opinion.
No, I actually think that they have a really good shot to come back today. Obviously, there's potential to Vaudeville. That's what a lot of people, like to point out with these 2-day type of competitions. I also think there needs to be a little bit of a reset. I'm not entirely sure how this trio is feeling as a whole. As I know that is on socials, Ritual went ahead and posted, today's on me, pertaining to yesterday, right? So he kind of feels like he was a little bit responsible for them maybe not being in first place. Maybe if we get a little bit of a mental reset there, a little bit of Vaudeville's in, I think they can for sure make a run for first.
I definitely think it's surprising to a lot of people that although they never even got top 3 in any of the games yesterday, that they're still in second place. And I really want to break down why that was the case. And of course, it's not much of a surprise that it was a lot due to their eliminations. But more importantly, it was the preparation for a lot of these early and mid-game fights. And you can see right here when they drop over in Flooded Frogs that they are prepping themselves by having a ton of masks, heals, and mats waiting for them. When they see that there's all this engagement going on to the east, they rotate over, but they actually reposition themselves to the southern west side so that they can kind of be in between all the teams that are coming in. Speaking of positioning, Peterbot has incredible positioning at the start of this fight. He TPs to the right of the trio while Ritual and Cold go to the left. This allows them to surround the trio and eventually get those eliminations. However, this fight kind of does last a long time, so not only are they wasting time, they're also wasting resources and heals and mats. But fortunately for them, over in Flooded Frogs, they had themselves set up for all of these extra resources, which is why they're able to go back and get all this backup loot. And from all that backup loot as well, they enter another early engagement around Zone 6. They had 9 eliminations, and although they only got 4th place in that game, they were able to have more points than what 2nd place got because of all these early engagements.
Yeah, I mean, that aggressive playstyle, obviously it's set up like minutes before, right? Like 5 minutes before they were ready to go ahead and make that push. They make that initial push, they make sure that there's damage out, they all kind of surround it. So even though sometimes, we only see the eliminations that happen, it is such a long setup for them to actually go ahead and win those.
Oh man, I want to see. I'm telling you, man. I shout outs to you, Cold. I respect you stepping up, but like, listen, today's a new day. We're gonna make some stuff happen, okay? One final trio to talk about in your top 4 is actually Vidil, Sphinx, and Cooper. So these guys still over at the Misty Meadows. What do we expect from them today? Do we think they've maybe made like large sweeping changes, or maybe we're gonna see more of the same?
I definitely think that the day definitely started off a little rough for them, but they were able to kind of evolve their play style, and then that's why we got to see back-to-back victory royales out of this trio. But really, Vivid, what's surprising to me is how different they are to the early aggression that we see from like Peterbot's trio.
Oh yeah, it's like night and day, right? And we kind of see it in eliminations as well. Like 20 less eliminations for this trio as compared to Peterbot's trio. But I mean, that's just a different place, all right? Cooper, Vidil, and Sphinx, they take that early game so slow, Kelly.
Yeah, and a lot of that is due to how much they're able to farm up over in Mass Meadows. They actually kind of have this split POI, not just at Mass Meadows, but also at Spiral Shoots. And at both of these spots are mini bosses, which drop Oni masks, void boons, as well as Mass Meadows dropping a blue chest once you eliminate that. So from there, they're kind of able to just enter a direct fight that's surrounding all of these POIs. There's so much aggression going on from all these contested teams that they actually build 3 separate towers to be able to engage in all of these fights around them.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that we kind of pointed out, right? How many contested drop spots there are around them. Sometimes they just don't even have to move. They have to kind of let that damage come to them. So very smart on their part to just kind of maintain the spots on the map that they do have and control all of that space with 3 separate towers.
3 towers is diabolical, dude. That's just crazy. I love that, though. And of course, we have 6 games today. So what are we hoping to see, right? We kind of touched a little bit on it yesterday, rather, before we said goodbye. But with 6 new games, and now you've had time to, take a look at our strategies and make adjustments. What are we hoping to see change today?
I want to see that 100-point lead from 1st and 2nd place shrink, as in the words of Sundown, the shoopening. I want to see all of these trios really fight, especially when we come down to game 12. I want it to be close. I don't want to be able to predict who is going to walk away going to the Global Championships.
Listen, I feel like we only got it one time yesterday. I mentioned it, Peterbot and Cole, they were up there on the high ground as a duo. I want to see the whole trio up there. I want to see them get a win today, kind of resurge towards the top of that leaderboard and make us, or give us a battle all the way into game 12 for that first place spot.
It's time. It's time. 6 games here. The axe, the Blade of Champions, rather. Global Championships on the line. A title's on the line. Life-changing amounts of money are all on the line to find your seat on the bus. This is game number 1. Casters, take it away.
That's right. One thing to think about, there is no multiplier today either. Your games will just count point for point, the same format carrying over from yesterday into today. So this is going to be a continuation of the action.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to consistency. You said it yourself, the no multiplier means it's all about how you're going to play each and every one of these games, because typically with that multiplier, you can have a bad game, maybe 2 if you're lucky, but now with those standings this close, Monster, that is out the window, and it is time. Game number 7, the start of day 2 is right now.
Game 7 kicks off, and once again, we find ourselves looking at the top teams. Who will be the team to take it all away here for Game 7 to kind of kick off the day, set the pace for yourself here on this lovely Sunday afternoon? I mean, I'm looking forward to all of the action here that's going to unfold. Yesterday couldn't have been predicted, right? I don't think that anyone knew that Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot were going to have problems off spawn the way they kind of have in those early game fights. It really did lead to an interesting day. I am more interested to see what are going to be the adjustments teams make now coming into it, because you have to mix it up. You have to change your strats.
Yeah, and a lot of those tricks that some of these teams held underneath their sleeve until the Major 1 finals got exposed yesterday. How they're really using the fishing, the surge towers to accumulate that surge so they don't have to worry about it later. And we jump on board early, our first place team, and we're seeing it early, uncontested. The amount of respect they were able to put on their names, the Night Shift Forest, and you can see how spread out they actually are. Hoyo's the one in the early game right now. You see him, he's as close to the bird as possible. He's gonna loot up a little bit and then reach on over towards the south, try to get more surge shots, so that way it kind of eases up their pressure later on in the game.
Those little tags do start to add up as we start looking towards that kickoff game surge. We all know that usually the start of the competition, things are a little more stacked than you would otherwise imagine. Yesterday was exactly a showcase of just that in game number 1. If this fight goes the distance, then I think it'll tell us everything we need to know about teams. Just try to get into their groove, right, to kind of kick things off here today. By the end of the day yesterday, DC Noah and Chaos were in full-on clash mode up against Oliver OG's team there. So if this doesn't end fast, I think we're going to be in for a very high surge game.
Yeah, and you can kind of see already in the mini-map, more and more teams are going to the outskirts of Hopeful Hypes. So yesterday, some of them were kind of disengaging in some of those games, going back there to try to loot up. Now that is going to literally be impossible before you run into another team. And I think Oliver OG, Skate, or Dash, they might have some sense that they have a good advantage in this fight, and they're already hunting on over, teetering on over in that direction. It's Chaos aiming down below. He's the one that truly has to be careful because he's out of position by himself.
Yeah, definitely. A couple tags here for Dash to kind of kick things off and give him the advantage. And notice these tags are going to do some damage through these builds. Obviously, given that there's wood. Meanwhile, it does look like there is some action happening over in the terrace here. We have Veer, Scare, and Sinetto going against Chance, Mason, and Donnie right now. Here's a team that had to fight their way through. That clutch performance for Donnie to go ahead and bring his team straight to the finals. So far, having a good showing here with the standoff, so things are looking a little better for them today.
Yeah, and it's already feeling just a little slow, a little sluggish compared to what we were seeing in games 2 through 6 yesterday. So Storm Surge is definitely going to hit hard if you're not prepared for it. Skate or Dash, they have a 2v1, try to break into the box, but they get denied entry. That's Aaron, Nerdface, Joji on the other side. And this is exactly what you're talking about. The longer you take in these off-spawn fights, this is going to happen more times than not.
Yeah, it creates a cascading or a compounding effect for the rest of the lobby. But look at this. DC, Awesomer, and team caught that third-party trio that was just lurking on the outskirts, trying to see if they can jump in and find some action. It's Polis and Listen who are left standing here as Power was the first to fall now. Still, though, can't count this team out. Still a clean 2-on-2 action right now. Great tags from both sides, and it's forced down to low ground right now.
kind of pressuring them out. Got to imagine they must know contested over there at Hopeful Heights. The loot's got to be low, especially with one of their players down. But Power getting eliminated as well kind of makes this a little bit more of an even fight. So not going to get aggressive, I feel like, as they'd once hoped. I think for Polis and Listen, depending on where they came from, I feel like they can kind of disengage on Outward and try to get that reboot, because they know Chaos and DC still have to not only acquire their reboot, but figure out where they're even going to go after that. But Listen stacking himself back, trying to go for a sneak attack onto Chaos. He let his teammate orb out, hoping they would take the bait. Hook, line, and sinker. They not only took the bait, but they get eliminated for it.
Now here's what's crazy. There are 2 more teams rotating into the Hopeful Heights. This is very, very different as compared to yesterday. We were wondering what strategies were going to be coming into play here, and it seems like teams have noticed, hey, this contested fight could be one that we can pick on, but it's almost like multiple trios have had that same idea in mind. We'll see how that affects the center map, given that they're playing more of the outskirts. Ritual, Peterbot, and Cold, though, have rotated Coastal here towards the west, given that the zone's pretty much on top of them at this point, so they're going to be content to take this fight. What we noticed yesterday was that in their 6 games, their early game surge battles, or really farming for eliminations here, is what set them apart, right, on the standings, allowing them to remain competitive.
And that stat is actually pretty crazy. Since forming as a trio, they've won at least 1 game in every 6-game final until yesterday, but still in second place. Goes to show that I feel like today for them is not just about winning the FNCS. It's about vengeance, about getting revenge on how they were playing yesterday. Peterbot holding that pressure. I feel like this team uncontested at Whiffy Warp. They thought it was going to be a blessing, but that just allows for a team like this, as aggressive and hungry as they normally get outside of the zone, to kind of hold their position. And they talked about the extra heals that Cold, Peterbot, and Ritual have, so they can keep this fight going as long as they want.
No respect. Cold just builds right over them, forces them out, and they go running. This team recognizing that going up against the likes of Cold, Peterbot, and Ritual in a box-to-box fight with no advantage is definitely one that's too risky, but it seems like Press was left behind, and Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold are looking to swarm in here.
Yeah, Peterbot's just kind of playing to keep them down there, waste their time, essentially. Cold, Ritual looking, trying to handle this 2v1 while they do have a good numbers advantage. But you got to be careful. Prez looking to push the 1v1 against Ritual. Luckily for him, Peterbot returns to the fight, making sure they have a strength in numbers continuously throughout this whole exchange.
See it. Looking for a new angle. Build starting to run low, it seems like, for the trio on the run now. Clixie, Press, and Drewbot have to put up some kind of defense here or get left behind. There's the knock that comes through, and you can see the scan associated with it. All the info being fed to Cold here that this team is long gone now. So they go Oni masking across, full risking it.
Yeah, right now they already know they're separated. They got that first solo down. They know they went 2 different directions. 2v1 at the top. Drewbot, this is the only 1v1 you're gonna get. It's against Peterbot of all people. As Cold almost gets taken down, narrowly surviving. That was the 2v1. Drewbot hitting the launch pad, and man, he thought he was gonna get away, but with aim like that from Peterbot, basically serving him that elimination on a silver platter.
Meant just to survive via Siphon. You see the health just go flying back up. That's gotta feel really good. Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts have been trending upwards slowly, steadily. Seems like they're continuing to keep everyone on their toes here. This is Diego and Ralphie on the other side of the wall. Possessed on the run right now. Seems like the pressure is just a little too much to handle here.
And this is something that I feel like a whole different change of pace from how they even got here in the first place to the group stages, contested, making a slow rotation out. Now they land just north of Demon's Dojo, where Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts actually set their eyes on. And Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts, if they see you as a team that they look weak, they're immediately going to try to fight, especially since they have so much respect around their drop spot. There's not many teams that loot up, land, or even kind of let their presence known on this side of the map. This is almost a must-take fight for them, especially since it's so isolated.
Oh, Bolt's got his eyes here on the prize right now. This team has to be careful. All that farming's giving away their exact position here. Things start to slow down now. Is that a pre-edit being made right now? They are ready for action.
almost not every day you see a floor pre-edit just like that, but they're really to pull out all the stops to try to win this fight. But you got to give credit for Diego, Possessor, Ralphie down below. Really not giving up any inches, and that's something you got to make sure for against a team like this. A couple of shots, just scratches just like that. That just kind of builds the confidence on the other side, but they're getting forced down low, and you see their material count running low as well, and that's what we typically see in these prolonged exchanges, especially from a team that's moving towards the north. There's scraps up there, not a lot, but Ralphie gets caught off guard. There goes the shield. But Rapid takes a big shot as well, forcing him to slowly but surely turtle back, try to get that HP back before they re-engage this.
I was just going to say, I like what I'm watching from Bolts, the pre-edits, the walls, the floors, everything absolutely ready for action here. Already now looking to collapse in and close this team here. Just 2 left, but Rapid ends up getting traded down there, and the finish is going to be successful for Possess's trio here. And now things are kind of set back for Kanata and Bolts here, where it was looking seemingly perfect for them for a moment ago. They grabbed the reboot card, and it seems like it's time to get out of here. No need to take the risk. They got the damage they were looking for, and back to the Demon's Dojo they go.
Ooh, from one fight to the next. Probably Cold Peterbot, Ritual going back to Flooded Frogs. We talked about the spare loot that they do leave behind. Another team might have noticed that, trying to go for scrap. That's not Liam and their trio. It's a fight, honestly, that we've been seeing throughout the course of the day yesterday. And for Nut, Liam, and Fredbot, they did almost a decent job for the most part, defending against the onslaught of Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual. At times, even taking down the likes of Peterbot, forcing them to disengage, go for the reboot, and think about a plan B.
One thing we're noticing is Peterbot and team not happy that Fredbot is hitting his drop, right? Remember, they leave a ton of excess heals and loot. Potentially even owning, Void Mass there as well. So for them to just go ahead and double back, they are quite literally feeding off of the Flooded Frogs drop. So they're kind of double dipping there. Very interesting. We'll see how that affects Peterbot's trio here. Muzz, Japco, and Rise, though, took some of the most damage yesterday. You saw that. They also dished it back out. Top 3 performance for Muzz, Rise, and Japco. What a turn of events for them.
Definitely had opportunity for more as well. Threats, Aviv, Booga. I'm hoping to see more of this team today because how phenomenally they played on the leaderboard, their statistical kind of upbringing on the yesterday's day. This is a team I feel like they can no longer be able to fly under the radar. This is a team you must have had to VOD review, the way they go to the slow side, and the way they're just comprised as a team. Booga individually played with both Threats and Aviv throughout the duo competition. Threats has a long history with Booga as well, and then you kind of mix Threats and Aviv. They have familiarity. This is a team, I know they kind of let go of Reet in this competition to kind of bring Aviv to the roster, but I think so far that move has proven to be the right one for them. A lot of our team changes throughout we've seen the offseason are proven to be fruitful for them.
Yeah, most of the team swaps have worked, relatively favorably, right, for the ones that initiated the call. So, who better to know other than the leaders themselves of their groups? And honestly, intuition is all it takes sometimes. Take a look at this, though. Not looking great for Aoxy, Pikes, and JoJo here. They're going to be forced out. Acorn, Agers, and Boyo have eyes on this team, though. And I was going to ask the question, how do you keep up with the pace of Peterbot's Cold and Ritual's elimination chains? But Agers, Boyo, and Acorn might just be able to keep that gap a little bit closer if they can secure these elims.
And you see how consistent they're playing. Top 4 and 5 out of 6 games.
That was
as he gets
nasty.
another knock onto JoJo, just up and over. And honestly, I had a feeling this was going to happen when we had that overhead view. They're trying to void out, and then you see Boyo and Agers moving in. Outside of zone, when they see voids like that, they're immediately going to go. They already know they have a knock onto 1. They're still closing the distance. They actually might have went past. The revive came to fruition, but they finally heard it at the other end. That's going to be Boyo. That's going to be Acorn who hear that one. Call back for Agers. They have a 3v2. So this is a fight I feel like they're going to see to the end.
I was going to say, I think this works out because I'm pretty sure the Storm had dropped one of them. So now they get the elimination credit here. If anything, this kind of plays into their favor right now. But either way, the points are added up. 3 eliminations now for Acorn, Agers, and Boyo, setting themselves up to continue to hold a strong lead here. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, although they've gotten their 3, it's basically nullified. That's all I'm going to be thinking about here today is how can Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual close this 92-point gap right now? They will have to outperform them on the placement points currently. However, that hasn't been the case for them, at least if you're only looking at the day one performances.
Yeah, the reason why they're even in contention right now is just their uncanny ability to get eliminations in situations that not very many people can. And that Wanderer's Medallion played a huge role in some of the clutches we've seen from Peterbot yesterday. But it's great to see Kanata and Bolts. They were able to get the reboot back onto Rapid. He's back into the game, just like we saw Peterbot Cold and Ritual do around their drop spot. Very, very similar here, just outside of Demon's Dojo. And you can see them dropping that medallion, and that's a perfect choice. You got to weigh the pros and cons of being marked on the map versus what that medallion actually gives you. And that's why you typically see that medallion kind of left on the side because of the give and take that it receives.
What's going on here? A little bit of a standoff right now. Opportunity potentially arriving here for 20 Broken and Void. Oh, and another team kind of sliding on the outskirts here, thinking about jumping into this battle. Meanwhile, Byla, Quanti, and Edgy are very much in a full-on engagement here, just outside the Foxy Floodgate. This is up against Bucky, Savage, and Ocus. Okay, so it's a drop spot fight for sure.
Just kind of one of those things that naturally happen. Bucky and his team land over towards Foxy. They set up all around it. Byla, Quanti, and Edgy, they land at the edge towards Shogun Solitude, so it's kind of no choice to move in as we jump on board Bugha. V even threats in an early game scuffle. Skittles is weak. Victor V is down, and Chimp soon to follow. That's going to be a full-on wipe for them as Bugha. V even threats survive over at Seaport City, and another team that hasn't had to rotate far in this game from their actual drop spot, which is Seaport City.
Yeah, that was a fight for Surge. You saw them holding this base here, but Skittles' team was down low, kind of playing the insides, and it was just a matter of time. I mean, you present yourself as the only option, and all of a sudden now you're going against a team that has performed very well in the weekend here. They maintain their 5th place position pretty steadily now. Sphinx, Cooper, Vidil, the only team to pick up back-to-back victory royales yesterday on the NAC region. Talk about a performance for this trio right here. And even that wasn't enough to keep them up inside the first place, given that they fell in that last game in 17. So pretty difficult end to the evening. However, they have shown themselves to be one of the greats here on the region right now. And honestly, one of the more decorated teams, given that Vidil made the travel here. Talk about commitment to play at the highest level of Fortnite.
I'm like 80% sure, and 80 is a high margin. I'm like 80% sure there might be a team fishing from the island. Literally fishing from the islands. That means it's got to be Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual. I just saw the zip line go all the way down to the ground. That's really thinking outside of the box. And it goes to show how strong getting those fishing rods, getting those shield fish early on in the game, because it's essentially, if you have water near you, it's almost like infinite heals.
Yeah, I'd be more surprised if they even took that out of their draw spot, given that they were playing Deep Storm and found a full set of eliminations. So for them to make that decision is very much a calculated one. But look at this. You still have Peterbot's team sitting up top, and then Bolts, Kanata, and Rapid here kind of base underneath. I was going to say, I saw lightning from that angle. I'm like, there's no way Peterbot's getting hit right now, right by the Surge. But no. They're 1,200 damage above the threshold here. Very comfortable position to be in. Moving closer and closer to Batman, Bugha, Yamzo, and Clicks now, who are already set up at the highest point this mountain has to offer. Look at this. They're not quite safe, so they are going to have to make a decision of what spot that they're going to go for. And the marker seems to be, hey, let's just get out of the harm's way.
Yeah, and this is something very, very similar, not exact, but Vivid broke this down in day one. Because they're able to accumulate such high damage numbers, they don't even need to be the team highest up on the mountain. They're going to position somewhere safe where they know teams are going to have to rotate in. They continue to accumulate damage, and they're in a spot, like I said, because there's teams above them, there's not going to be very many chances for people to end up box to box against Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, trying to take them down. Sphinx, Vidil, and Cooper 16 below the damage threshold. Even though they've usually figured out a way to make it work and find the damage that they need, it's situations like this that give them some scary games with their backs potentially up against the wall.
Yeah, just kind of reminds me of that saying, the rich get richer. But for Sphinx, Vidil, and Cooper, I mean, they're in the trenches right now. They're going to have to really work for it. Great tag here for Sphinx onto DGen. They could get the elimination. The down body damage would be even better if they can secure it here and now. This is going to be a close one. Somehow, though, someone seems to have found DGen, who is isolated there on the side. Yeah, no credits for Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx there. However, Swappy gets knocked in this entire wild exchange here of teams looking inside. They're back into the action right now, but pressure's on now. They know where they stand right on the leaderboards for damage here so far, so I'm sure they are recognizing there's still danger looming. It's a good time to rotate now, given that the zone's already revealed itself. It's pulling further and further east-north. It's not going to be too bad to play off of for them.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a blessing for a good majority of the teams here going off of that mountain, but now you got to start being proactive, start to really think where the zone could end up. If it pulls towards the south, we're going up mountains, so you got to be prepared with a lot of materials. If it pulls towards the west, you got open water monster, and those are some of the most disastrous zones. We saw it throughout the course of the day yesterday. And then, of course, if it goes north or east, that's kind of even around the lobby. Not too treacherous, just cold. Peterbot and Ritual, even though they're falling down that damage threshold, they're still figuring out a way to maintain their position above everybody else. Vidil, Cooper, Sphinx, they're the ones teeter-tottering in and out of that threshold. First we see them below, then up, and then now below yet again. This is kind of forcing their hand around every single zone.
Yeah, this is looking pretty problematic for them right now if they can't find a team rotating to the south. Sphinx making the right call to play for a different angle now. The deal, though, sitting in the cone, gets granted some mats here. Someone gets eliminated above them, but they don't need mats. They need damage. They know it. At least some extra heals is going to be very much welcomed here. Look at Sphinx just fishing for anything here. Barely above. Barely. And that probably comes due to the fact that a team was not there. So could have just been luckily played out for them at this moment. However, they're not safe just yet.
That train almost ripped through all those trios down below. Luckily they saw it, spaced themselves just far enough. 44 damage, they're doing just enough for Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx to not really have to worry about that active surge. They can kind of focus on this rotation. But while they're sitting pretty, having to get surge, you can see Peterbot, Cold, Ritual, they found a target. That's Virgo, that's gonna be the first one to drop. See Swappy up towards the top, he's gonna go down as well. And that was somebody that we saw get knocked just a few minutes ago. He got revived and got taken down again.
Crazy, these elims. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual starting to find right now, continuing to trend their way up the standings right now. Meanwhile, Buzzjackal and Rise holding on by a strong margin now on the damage standings. It's just a matter of making it to endgame at this point for them. Two elims sitting themselves nice and strong here, and whoa, they're eyeing up high ground. You see Craze, Bucky, and Okus there, kind of positioned pretty strongly right now. It might be that they are the team that's going for the dub right now. Oh, yo, Acorn and Agers, though. 7 eliminations. What has been going on here?
They finding opportunity after opportunity. One of those eliminations we saw earlier that got stolen away. I didn't even see Acorn anywhere in sight. He was the one that had his eyes peeled, able to take that one away. 1,400 damage, almost 1,500 above the threshold. No real reason to peek, just like everybody else. You see the struggle that they're going through. Bolt's trying to get out alive. Reunite with his team. He spots out Foil for a quick second. A few damage, revenge shots before he has to reclose that build, knowing that the zone's going over the bridge, up a little bit up that mountain. Not too terrible, but for those teams that rotate late, that's where they're going to have the troubles.
Do notice Built Rapid and Kanata's heals are starting to be very much affected now, given the zone and the way things are playing out for them.
Materials too.
Just down to minis pretty much. Yup, very limited materials. This is a team that is desperate for a refresh right now. Up they go with the Void Owning Mask. Rapid hurt there on the trade. Kanata falls as well after teleporting in, and it's all up to Bolts here pretty much as everyone's split up now to play this one out individually here. Difficult position to be in given the settings. Bolts is not even sure if it's worth getting to his teammate right now. Meanwhile, we talked about Okus Craze and Bucky up top here, and they continue to have a little bit of high ground. Bolts goes for it. What is happening here? That was very questionable, to say the least. But he thought he had something cooking, and unfortunately he will get punished here. Meanwhile, Rapid still on the hunt right now, not even inside the top 10 yet, and it feels like there's everything collapsing now before him. Jacob, they fall in 13th.
Not the start that they were hoping, but at least they're going and getting warm right now. Front of zone, Muzz, Rise, and Yapko, they're doing good. Ager's staying in the fight as well. Even with a sliver of HP on the A-core, they're remaining confident and tough. The high ground focuses down Pollo. The trio gets split up. Ager's trying to go on a different angle, find a different path. He's trying to lead him to the promised land, but A-core goes down as well. Ager's with a big elimination on the Booga. He needs the Siphon. He gets it just in time, trying to stay alive. His 5th elimination of the game.
The Siphon keeping him in the game right now as well. Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot, though, start to scramble for high ground. Meanwhile, Okius is trying to get his bearings wrapped up, but who's coming up top? It's, of course, Peterbot, ready for the action here. Okius makes a decision to jump down. Will he go for the chop? Instead, no, he's just scrambling as he recognizes everyone is here in his territory. No longer safe somehow, though. Still maintains a little bit of ground here, but he's out of match, Jacob. It's not looking good. Cold, Ritual, Peterbot finding every tag, and there goes the next one, and now Bucky as well. The entire team crumbling before the hands of Peterbot, Ritual, Cold, who are now playing for the dub.
Somebody awaken the sleeping giant. We talk about the lack of getting into the top 3s. This is their time to shine, but Ager's down below, trying to get as many points as possible. First place still on the line as he scrambles to the backside of the zone, getting tagged up along the way. Big flank on the one, but Clicks shuts him down. That's going to be the end of their run in 6th place.
Big opportunities now for Clicks here to make some big points here. Get back onto the standings. Sphinx, Vidil, and Cooper, though, from the mud, they're still getting after it here. With the couple of mats, though, they're forced to the ultimate low ground. Clicks Yamzo here, greet them with some shots. So do Vidil and team, but it's all coming down now to a 2v3v1 battle here. Who's the last standing? It's Virgo in the storm. 12 elimination for Peterbot. He's on the hunt right now. The medallion in hand is going to give him such an advantage here in this end game, but anything can still happen.
Hey, Yamzo going up, trying to do anything to think outside of the box and make a play. Peterbot gets tagged up, drop overall, but Cole gets revenge. Down with Yamzo, Clicks by himself. 1v2 situation. Ritual is just on a sliver of HP. No full shields on the Cold either. If Clicks to make this play quick and in a hurry, get the damage, he can finally figure out a way to come off clutch, but they're ready for the fight on the other side. They drop down. Peterbot is not going to be disappointed because Cold and Ritual clutch up when it matters and win their first game of Major 1.
Now we're talking here. Put the big boys on the menu, on the map, and give them what they deserve. And that's a victory royale in a hard-fought one as well. And also, credits to Clicks, the way he was able to once again find himself in the end game, continuing the pace out of yesterday's performances. What a game one. The heavy hitters are out to play. And look at this high ground retake here from Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, really earning themselves, cementing themselves on the top spot here deservedly.
Yeah, and it's all about the timing of when you take high ground. Bucky, Oaks, and Craze had it 8th, 9th, 10th zone, but they wasted so many materials. Now the Kings have woken up. They've taken the game, but that goes to show that it is not over just yet. Zeke, Kelly, Vivid, what do you think of this resurgence?
It's happening! Alarms! Go! Game 1 victory royale. So this is what we expected yesterday. And they said, Zeke, she wrote the script, dude. Remember game 1, day 2. I apologize. I write a lot of scripts for the year, so it's crazy. Guys, this game from Peterbot was so crazy. There's so many times where we just cut to them and they're like 1200 above, 1400 above, max match center zone. And then finally they're like, okay, look, we know we've not really made it this far to fight for high ground. And then to take the fight to Bucky and like, in just a beautiful back and forth, Kelly, where they just completely wipe, like decimate and make them burn all their materials. And then at the end, they're just like, cool, we'll take all your stuff and we'll convert that directly into a win. Just so beautifully executed.
I mean, well, a good breakdown there, Zeke. That's pretty much exactly what we saw, and it started all the way from the early game. We talked about it at the top of show that they go for that early aggression. They got 3 eliminations over at Withy Wharf right from the start, and that allowed them to kind of just place themselves right in the middle of zone once that first moving zone started to happen. And then, of course, as you just called it out, they were able to take that height away from Bucky. They had so many mats that it really wasn't even a fight, but a little bit low on heals. You can see Ritual was actually quite low on white heals for most of that in-game Vivid.
Yeah, I mean, incredible stuff there. I was literally talking about it as it happened as well. Obviously, the game-winning moment right here had to have been the higher ground take, so I got to go ahead and talk about that just once more. You know, when we get these 3v3 fights for high ground, it's often you get these like isolated 1v1s amongst all 3 members of the trio, and then it's like kind of just like chaos, and then somebody gets dropped. Like, you kind of just lose track of your team. No, there was a full reset right there for Peterbrock, Cold, and Ritual. They regrouped together, splashed together, were in the same target, took the same angles. It was honestly beautiful to watch. The reset out of them, the composure right there was awesome. And I think, you know, I mentioned at the top of the show, Ritual, you know, put it out on social media, you know, today's on me. That right there, winning game number 1 of day number 2, has to be such a huge confidence boost, not only for the trio, but for them individually.
Ooh, you know they feel so good. You talk about composure, and I'm about to lose my composure at these standings, which we'll look at when we come back from this break. I fooled you. I know I didn't. That's okay. Listen, we're gonna take a break. When we return, we'll take a look at what these new standings look like. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with the FNCS. What is going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the FNCS. Okay, so those standings I was talking about. Yeah, we're gonna take a look at those, and we're gonna see. Remember before, this gap was a lot wider.
Oh.
But after that last victory royale, suddenly Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot are only 40 points behind Pollo. That is not good, Kelly. I'm scared.
I mean, I think that's great. From 90 points to 40 points is an incredible jump, but also to see that Agers, Acorn, and Pollo also still able to get a handful of eliminations that game. I really think that that just speaks to how good they handle this early game aggression, Vivid.
Yeah, I mean, what an incredible game, honestly. You know, picking up 6th place, 9 eliminations right there. It was kind of like the classic Acorn, Pollo, and Agers game right here. They were just positioned so well throughout the entirety of the game, just finding, you know, consistent, really good spots. I believe it was actually this 8th zone or 7th zone. They found a cute little spot right under the bridge, right where they could stay isolated from the rest of the lobby and just take some free shots. So super well done by them, and they just kind of carried that into the end game. Honestly, I think they fell a little bit short. They would have actually liked to have performed better. I think at some point around, you know, the 10th place, they actually fell short, which is going to be right here, but still clutched up a 6th place, which is honestly incredible.
We need a masterclass on how Agers is able to stay alive as long as he can. I think that's either game 3 or 4 that he is a solo for the last few zones there. And although he may not have been able to grab that many more eliminations like what we saw him be able to do yesterday, still, even just going from 8th place to 6th place to 5th place can just hold you up on the leaderboard like what we're seeing right here. Although they share the amount of eliminations with Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, which is also phenomenal. I mean, getting 14 eliminations in that game, actually tying themselves with Booga, Aviv, and Threats for the most amount of eliminations we've seen during this final so far. This is just, I mean, there's a reason why NA is so top heavy compared to the rest of the regions.
Yeah, no, this is crazy. It feels to me like we're not even trying to play for the blade at this point. It feels to me like Pollo and Peterbot are just saying like, hey, we're just playing for those 2 spots. Like we want to be the ones to go ahead and lock that up first. And everyone else, we just want y'all to know we are very much a threat going into the Global Championships. Now, Clicks, listen, we saw that, okay? 2nd place there, Clutch, by yourself in those moments to now move up 2 places. We're looking at only 1 point behind Muzz, Yapko, and Rise right now at 431. To see them pop off like this is so amazing. You can really tell they took that day 1 really seriously, right? They really said, okay, what do we need to shore up? And then immediately to show up like this, a 2nd place in the first game of the day? Oh my gosh.
This is the Clicks Eom Zone Batman Booga that we know and love, that we've seen throughout the last few weeks of competition, being like pretty much shambles on the low ground, having no heals and no mats, but still going on the aggressive, making sure that they're still able to get those refreshes, get that loot, stay on the low ground there, and going from 6th place up to 4th place is, you know, still that's an improvement.
Yeah, I mean, incredible game from Clicks right there. Actually made it within like arm's reach to actually clutch that up right there at the end, though, as well. Unfortunately, you know, Cold on the other side, one of the best players in the world. But the leaderboard is honestly crazy, Zeke, because right now the points separating 3rd and 6th place, 10. Just 10 points right now, right? It is so close between Muzz, Yapko, and Rise in 3rd place, and then Booga, Aviv, and Threats in 6th place. Literally just 10 points. And I also kind of got to shout out our teams on, you know, NA that are playing these finals right now. Kelly's talked about it. You know, it's so stacked. Coming into today, the top 6 teams on the leaderboard all found themselves in the top 10 of that game, right? So everybody is fighting and playing so consistently.
Oh man, to think this is gonna be a nail biter the whole day. That's what we're here to see. With that being said, though, you know what time it is. It's game time. So Monster D Phase Giga PR, take it away for game number 2.
This is going to be amazing if it continues in this trend. Obviously, we have a big point gap between 1st, 2nd, and the rest of the competition, Monster, but this is really going to go down to who makes the first mistake in these 2 teams.
Hey, it's not Acorn's team's fault. They set the bar so high, but 3rd place is still a podium finish, and it is a very close competition. Muzz, Rise, and Japco just, you know, ever so slightly holding on there. Not the greatest performance for them being inside the top 3. Now you have a point separating them, it seems like, from Clix's trio, who is very much flying up the standings right now. So I am excited to see even what they're going to do here now. This game number 8 sounds like it's ready.
You know, Monster, throughout 7 games so far, we do have an elimination leader, but it's not as clear-cut as the last 3 major events on this region. Cold leads with 28. Right behind him, Peterbot Agers, 27. Right behind him, Poyo with 26. Just outside of that gap, Threats with 21 and Clicks with 20. It just goes to show how aggressive and how close these matches actually are.
Crazy. Clicks throws himself up into that conversation. Last game, he had at least 5 we saw in the highlight package there. Really flexing how far he's come as an individual player. You have to just give him so much credit and respect that he deserves. And you know what? We're happy to see him continue to find himself inside these top tier trios. You know, it's hard, even for the best, to find themselves a team that they mesh well with. But on that conversation, Victor V, Skittles, and Chimp, amongst the best as well, have their work cut out for them here at the Magic Mosses. Yesterday's highlights were all about some of these early contested battles. It seems like they've decided it's not very much worth them fighting and throwing their tournaments away. So a little bit of a different mix-up right now as they've kind of slowly inched their way into battle here now.
Yeah, especially with this prolonged fights that we've seen throughout, 7 games so far now. If you kind of contest Magic Mosses and you don't finish it within the first couple minutes, there are so many teams around this area that will begin to kind of move over in this direction and try to third party. So that's that risk reward scenario. You got to start breaking down early. And that's where you're seeing a lot of these fights around the map kind of break out just like this, separated, kind of disengaged from each other before they actually go in and try to make a play.
Well, let's see if V or Scare and Sano can make a play here. Have to see some life come out of them here today. We had chances and saw moments of greatness coming out of their qualifiers, but Donnie, Chance, and Mason have just been showing them up so far. Let's see how it's going to end up crashing out here. Great tags from the other side. Donnie put on his heels here for a moment.
I would say Mason's running over, chasing down Veer. Gets that elimination. Soneto and Scare, they're trying to turtle back. They at least got the reboot card, so if they can escape this exchange, they can at least attempt the reboot card, but without too many materials. And you got to imagine what Soneto has them on as well. They almost feel like it's a better choice to sit and fight, especially with the damage they did early on. They see Donnie with no shields, but Scare takes too much of a shot. Back-to-back at that, both Scare and Soneto's shields go down, and Soneto goes down altogether. So even with Donnie down, they're going to continue to push this 2v1.
This is crazy work. They had the health advantage. What went wrong? Something clearly, as they've given up a little too much there. Look at them hunting for the elimination before even saving their teammate. They're like, no, 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 no. We need to get this guy out of here. No information from Mason being fed there, but very nice. So all in all, they kind of win the drop here. Scare still's got a reboot card, so I mean, they'll be okay to kind of bounce back and play this one out over some time, but the clock is ticking now. Meanwhile, Flood of Frogs continue to serve Cold, Peterbot, and Ritual well. What a game last round. 14 eliminations, putting themselves up amongst the highest performing rounds of Fortnite we've seen over this weekend. And if we see any more than that, that gap surely is going to be closing here.
Yeah, classic Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual fashion as well. Waiting for that perfect moment to contest the high ground while they knew the players up there, Bucky Oaks and Craze, were kind of holding it for so long, out of materials. And you got to give them their props, though, because they stayed with no materials up there to fight against the likes of Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual. Just kind of the early game that we kind of see just looting up in and around Flooded Frogs, the spots to the north as well, because they command so respect. And then it's now within the next couple of minutes, depending on what teams they see rotate by them, that's where they're going to go on the chase, or kind of typically just move on over to Whiffy if they see nothing.
Yeah, Chaos Gaming, Noah, and DC have definitely recognized that their biggest problem seems to be power, Polis, and Listen. Right? Coming in, trying to time their third party, take opportunity from them. So this time they've almost waited for them, welcomed them in, and look, they fend them off relatively easily. Now that the plays have been, or the hand's been shown, I guess we should say.
Out of all of this, though, I want to see Oliver, G, Skater, and Dash kind of take advantage of what's going on here, because they're the ones still looting up at Hopeful Heights while they push Noah plays back, and then that third party of Power and his trio moved in as well. So that's setting themselves up to where they can kind of have the early game that they want. Go back there for Surge if they choose, or just kind of simply rotate north the zone. Is broken, 20, Void. just south of Mass Meadows, trying to take on the likes of Olaf and his trio down below. And you can see Broken, he's taking all the tops, the cones, so that way if they do try to run away, they have that extra angle that can immediately use.
Still looking for these angles though. Nothing big just yet. Ooh, nice little wall take right there. Smiley fights back for it though. Void inching his way forward, but no, walks into a trap. The side shot onto Void from NV Olaf. Almost sends it back to lobby. Look at this, he's just waiting. Doesn't even care to take back the wall there. Just wants them to make that edit, make them feel comfortable about jumping in.
And this is one of those fights for Olaf, Max, and Smiley. This is their first FNCS Finals appearance. So obviously they don't have as much experience like some of these other players in this lobby. But I feel like considering the knowledge that they have, not necessarily want to take the fight, considering the materials as well, all the things coming into play, I like how they're not necessarily forcing the engagement. Trying to play the long game instead of short little wins.
See what Yamsa's up to here with Clicks Batman Booga. Giving up their Storm Tower right now to go and get their farm on. Seems like they've lost a lot of time here. Actually, when it comes down to farming, surprisingly, not cap material this late into the early game. You'd think they'd be done. It's Clicks up top.
Yeah.
Canvassing. What was that?
Now, I was about to ask, like, what are they kind of positioning? Because the zone's already looking like it's going towards the north. You see the edge of it just at Warrior's Watch. So that's going to allow them to kind of position on any of these high mountains, surge bases, because every team's going to be rotating them, whether now or later on in this same game. So I'd like to see he's being proactive, doing just that. Shadow Curve, Tyler. They're fighting over this shrine. Trying to push Baila, Edgy, and Quanti off. This is where you can kind of replenish those water sprites as long as you have at least one charge left.
Still on the move right now. See kind of a lot of teams playing relatively passively right here as game 8 starts to take its toll here, but the clock continues to race on now. Edgy working this upper angle here might actually be a huge chance for them to go ahead and open up here. Shadow isn't careful. Oh, here comes Baila and Quanti going to join Edgy on the outskirts. Okay.
Make a decision to kind of orb away, kind of allows Curve, Shadow, and Tyler to rotate towards the zone, and then Edgy and them can kind of pick and choose. Do they want to beeline it right behind them, go a little bit north, move towards the south, take a slower approach? So even though they're eating the zone for now, it's just kind of setting themselves up for options. Agers, Acorn, Pollo, setting themselves just outside of Night Shift's forest, and this is where the fishing comes into handy. This is kind of allowing a lot of comfortability for his teammates that might be in surge bases. Even if you take damage, he knows they have fish coming, shield fish, floppers, small fry, to kind of alleviate any damage that they'd be taking up into this point. And that's what helps a team like this, when they're in zone, get as much damage as they need for later on in the game when it comes to Storm Surge.
Talking about extra heals and whatnot, Boya as well. Just farming the area here, bringing what he can back to their base. A lot of opportunity now to farm tags here. He's got to get up quickly. Seems to be a full opponent base on the other side there.
And I believe Acorn's down there, like in that house. I think there's like a little pond in there. That's where he's fishing. And he's super safe. He doesn't even have to build, so nobody even knows he's down there fishing at that point in time. Booga, Aviv, and Threats staying over towards Seaport City. Talked about the north zone pool for the lobby, and this is going to grant them enough time to either sit on top of Seaport, rotate early just outside of the edge, and hold all of these teams back from the south. And that's how they can get their surge and then continue to do what they do best. Booga, you guys know him, you guys love him. He loves to rotate toward that slow side of the zone where there's not very many players that can contest him in a fight.
Yeah, I was going to say, last game they were forced into a box fight when the surge kind of revealed itself and the zone ended here, or at least give it, you know, to them in the early game. So this time around, I do expect them to leave the drop relatively soon, but they have Sphinx sitting up top here watching them right now. So it's a bit of a standoff situation here. It seems like they're not comfortable with the lost ground, so they're just going to go ahead and void out to the side here and probably go for more of the longer range exchanges. But yeah, last game could have went really bad for them had they not picked up those eliminations a bit early. Rise, Japco, and Muzz have the Shattered Span being pushed out now as well, so time to abandon the drop and also find some activity here soon.
Should be a relatively easy rotation for them. Whether they orb their way in, use a combination of the launch pads. Because of the respect not only they have over towards Shattered Span, kind of not that many teams landing around them. You got to think Kanata, Bolts, and Rapid to the north, that Demon's Dojo. There's not too many teams that are currently going to be positioned on the east side of the map unless they made that proactive play to try to rotate to this side of the zone early. So that's going to allow a little bit more comfortability come out of Muzz, Rise, and Yapko, where they don't really have to worry about too many teams. Right now, they're just going to be focusing on their rotation, get their good spot, likely towards Demon's Dojo, where there's a lot of elevation.
See Cold, Peterbot, and Ritual update here. First time we've seen them not in the storm looking for fights right now, so a much different approach here as the zone has landed right on top of their drop spot right now. Last game, they had options to go out to the coastal areas for fights. This time they decide, all right, we're going to stay kind of in the territory. And I like this dynamic play style, right? Keeping the opponents almost guessing where they are.
It's like a switch up. Throughout like the first 5 games yesterday, we were watching them kind of play a standard Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual game, but that 6th and final game of the day, they were very, very passive, choosing to build into Surge Towers and not necessarily take as many important fights. Taking that similar approach here, but the island spawning right above them. This is one of those teams, even though you do see 4 on the mini-map in close proximity, this is one for sure, you know, is at least going to try to make a play for that Shogun's Arena.
I was going to say, what are the odds they triple Oni up to Dgen's team, though? Like, outside of the island just revealing itself, it seems like that is what they're trying to set themselves up to do right now. No details on other trios, though, at all near them, so chances are the odds are going to be very slim for who they're going to have to choose. There it is. The island pops in. Dgen, Havoc, and Sandman first to get to the top here. Don't worry, though. Peterbot and crew should be on their way shortly. There you have it. Already here, already getting tags down. Dgen's caught the attraction or the attention of the boss as well. That's going to be a bit of a setback here, but up came Chimp and Victor V as well with Skittles there. So 3 trios jumping into the mix here.
They said, you know what, never mind. Y'all can have it. We'll just go over here, play a little bit closer to zone. Chimp, Victor V, and Skittles, they're not backing down. They're so kind of separated as of now on that other side of the island. They don't even necessarily have to primarily focus on Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual. They have options, a little bit of flexibility. You can fight them while they're going and fighting the Shogun boss at the top, or you can look all around the map on the west and south side of the zone and try to get surge from teams down below.
But first, though, whoever secures this medallion is going to have a huge advantage. So last game, Peterbot's team had it as well. It was in his hands. Definitely comes into handy that, I mean, besides being able to go invisible, the unlimited sprint is just devious. It's so powerful. And there it is. Peterbot snipes it up immediately. No time wasted. This is the spot that they want to be in, and look at this. Surprisingly, they're 550 damage above the threshold of where they need to be right now. Not exactly a perfect position, but a good one nonetheless for the first warning. Japco, Muzz, and Rise set up right outside of this positioning of Curly, Noxy, and Virgo, who have the high ground here. Plenty of options to choose from for fights here, also finding themselves above the surge. Feed starting to light up now as activity starts to take its course.
Oh, I thought I saw Rise go down as well. It's probably that fight. If you look at the mini map towards that water, that's probably what's breaking down. Virgo gets one on dash. Curly, Noxy, and Virgo, they just have all the time in the world, and that's the fight. You can kind of see it there in the distance. Some position high up on that mountain, others position low. But while they're fighting, playing for piece control, they're just sneaking shots in. And even though it's not a high damage number, it's that little bit of damage that really counts at the end of the day.
See if they can get more damage though, just so that they have nothing to worry about. This is what's really interesting, right? Like, we saw how the elite teams play when they have a huge surge advantage, and then you have a team like Curly, right, who are, you know, arguably just getting into things, really building up their reps right now. They could be playing for center zone, right, as opposed to kind of positioning themselves on these outskirts at this point in time. It's going to raise your chances of teams diving on you, so we'll see how it ends up playing out.
So, a couple players just scrapping outside of zone. That was Cease, that's Jack, that's Blake. They've just been kind of scrapping against some of these teams towards the outside. Muzz, Yapko, they get that revive back onto Rise. He went down momentarily to Oliver OG and Skater, who lost one of their teammates as well. So it's kind of that give and take, that sacrifice that you got to make. And while others are struggling on one side of the zone, you kind of see the strategy from Agers, Pollo, and Acorn continuously playing out game after game. They're not afraid of sitting in the zone for as long as they need to, because these games, Monster, they haven't typically been going to heal off. A lot of the resources get used throughout the course of the end game, so there's almost nothing left. So they realize that, hey, we can stay as long as we want, we can fish, we can loot the scraps, and then we can rotate late and get that perfect position while every other team is fighting just for the edge.
Talking about edge fights here, Boyo, Aegis, and Acorn are not safe just yet. They're going to be one of the few Void Oni masking in, which is going to put them right on that edge there. Fresh builds coming out should make them a target, but no. Everyone else is still trying to get situated here. This is the first we've seen the pump power kind of taking its toll here for an end game right now. So a very interesting end game. And oh, look at this. It's going up towards the Magic Mosses. All right. So we are getting some brand new end games in zone here today. Ager, Spoyo, Acorn though, 198 above and now starting to pursue through the builds. This is a quick highlight though from Peterbot and how they were playing the high ground there, just tagging players, finding their eliminations right now.
You can kind of see it before Storm Surge shut off, from 500 damage to 900 damage above the Storm Surge threshold, with only 2 eliminations, proving they have many different aspects of their game. As Peterbot peeks through, he's the only one that gets beamed in that moment. Virtual and Cold kind of thanking that opportunity, and you can see that the zone just a few meters away before they find their safety, so they're in no rush at this point in time to try to make it in. They're going to focus on interrupting this fight, especially if they saw on the feed Coopers was one of the guys that went down. They're just trying to cause chaos and commotion to what's going on over there. Now Badil's trying to separate himself, but he gets focused out. Sphinx is gone as well. Badil is the saving grace for this team. 2 victory royales yesterday, but a slow start today.
You can just see how much control they have right there. Very rarely would a team have all those edits, just open walls, like no care in the world, no one's shooting back at them. They just have this under control right now, and it really is starting to show. That refresh right there is going to go a long way as well here, as we're starting to get towards the time when Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual decide to go for high ground in Zone 7 is usually when they're cap material. So it's already setting up like they might just be looking to do that.
It's really dependent on where these next couple of zones pull. That's why they're playing so patient, not necessarily just trying to beeline it into the zone. They know the chances of a couple more teams making that late rotation is going to be real. But instead of a full team, it's just going to be Sandman that gets spotted out. Great damage there. Unfortunately, whether he orbed or not, they know that he's weak, almost in shambles as Vadil's running around trying to save the game. Only 85 above the damage threshold, but with a couple eliminations on other teams in the lobby, he moves up and spots a shot on the Creon. Quick elimination, and a much needed one as well, because now he's going to be able to drop down, get a couple of that siphon mats and resources that he can use to pull himself further in this game.
I was going to say, it's not just 1, it's 2 now as well. Vadil racking up the numbers here and capping himself off with material while the zone pulls his way. This is an opportunity unfolding for him right now to go ahead and potentially clutch up some serious points here and keep his team in the competition, keep it competitive for himself in the run to the top here. But I'm also thinking that Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual couldn't have asked for a better zone right now. Jabco, Rise, and Mazda are going to be the first to take the stab for the high ground. And look, they're not in nearly as good of a position as some of the other teams we've just tuned into. but they're fighting for it. They need some more damage. They need material as well.
Sees Jack Blake trying to get in on the edge of zone. They spent a good portion of the game overall fighting on the outside of zone. Mason's going to go down. Booga's trying to peek. He sees an open wall onto Rapid, but there's no angle there for him to land any successful shots. Agers, Poyo, Acorn, they're the ones that have some of the most high ground as of now. They're just on the edge of zone. If they pull, they could be the ones on top of the mountain.
They're below, though. They have to find these eliminations here. Look at this. They have to give them this prime positioning to fight for eliminations right now, getting into the box of Donnie and crew. I mean, this is what a team would wish for, not to get targeted by ARs, but hey, bring the box fight. You have better odds that way, one might argue, but it's not going to be enough, and instead they get rewarded for their troubles here. So the damage comes through for now, giving them a little bit of a opportunity to kind of ease up, but also the material counts building up is definitely welcomed. Zone bounces back to the north now, so decisions have to be made either way. Teams will have to rotate. Yamzo, Clicks, and Batman Booga now getting active, though, in the low ground. No Elans as of just yet, but seems like they have a team on their wall.
Clicks clutching up big, third place in that last game, trying to have a repeat performance, but Vidil still by himself from above the threshold to below 31. But shots like that is going to make it where he can smoothly move just 28 above, but it's not a feeling of confidence for him. He sees two teams fighting. He's immediately with the Hollow Twister trying to pressure that side of the zone, get even more damage, but no successful shots. And that's why you see a little bit more box fights for Storm Surge this late in the game. Everybody's building in brick and metal, so it's not easy for those Hollow Twisters to break through.
Crazy, Vidil still standing, by the way, by himself right now. But hey, you give someone like Vidil all that material, and I mean, it's what you're asking him to do is get those points, make it to the end game here. But the real battle starts now as the zone is starting to slowly make its way. Cold touches down safely somehow there after being exposed to the likes of Adrian, Spoyo, and Acorn there. Their immediate competition closing the gap here. Big mat counts on their inventory as well. Iamzo, Clicks, and Batman Boo controlling the low ground right now pretty heavily as well. Look at all this tunnel that they have control of here.
And it's typically the solo players, the ones that are low on resource and materials, they hunker down below and instantly starts fishing. Any bit is better than nothing. That's Batman Booga while Clicks Yamzo. They're looking around. They see the rotation all the way to the north. And this is where they're going to try to late rotate. Try to let the zone open up just a little bit and position themselves above some of these teams.
And Clicks to use a little shotgun upgrade as well. Rat, Kanata, Bolts up here, sitting pretty strongly. Looking down on the competition. Also just enough material to pretty much run this end game out here. Oh, big elimination there onto Chid. Seems like Kanata trying to get some snipes there. Muzz, Jacko, and Rai starting to rack some up as well. Cold racking up his eliminations too. This could be a huge refresh here and a set of points. There it is.
That was a big 1,700 damage. In the blink of an eye, their game changes. Yakko goes down. Muzz with 36 HP, getting pressure from all angles, getting to expend a lot of that material. They see the wood. They know it's a weakness. Clicks, Yamzo, Batman Booga try not to bite off more than they can chew. You talked about their space that they have on that low ground. They don't want to give it up for a singular elimination.
It's costing them a lot of material though now. Clicks down to 4 builds. Make that 1, never mind. He tarped his way through, coning off the top halves, making sure things are safe here. And it's just going to go back and forth, but they need a refresh here. You can have all this control, but if you can't convert, it's only a matter of time before things start to look really bad here. They start turning their focus up towards Booga's team. Rapid, Bolts, and Kanata, though. It just seems like teams that get the high ground have not been contested at all for it. Almost rewarded for the early plays.
Oh no, Peterbot again in a situation that we know all too well by himself as a solo, but little to no worries for me. He has that Wanderer's Medallion, top 10 already in this game, and he has so much resources, materials to keep himself going. I worry for Virgo on the other side of the wall. He quickly escapes, goes on up, and that gives an opportunity for Peterbot to continue to move to the front side of the zone.
Listen, Vidil's still standing as well.
Wow.
10 teams remaining, him being one of them as a solo, clutching up the points. That is what we call a solo clutch right there. He really is doing it for his team here. 9 now. Vidil finds finds the full elimination onto Batman Booga. Okay, so everyone's cooking now. What can Peterbot do here? He's got Virgo in his sights, and down he puts a big elimination there. He could use the mats. He's got to fight his way through a full trio, though. It's Bucky's team on the other side of the wall. He's like, nope, don't want nothing to do with that. He's got to get to the front side. Clicks finally falls now, and look at this. Peterbot still cooking, finding his way up.
Even though he's moving so quick, he's taking his time. He's being precise about every single one of his moves. Staggers himself just a little bit, knowing he has the splashes. Top 6 situation for him. He won that last game, and he's ready for a repeat performance. And again, he's smoothly moving to the front side of zone, taking control on the other side. Former teammates, and he's going for the fight. Big damage on Agers, forcing all 3 of those members back. Peterbot looking like the juggernaut of the lobby.
Ooh, and he finds a Beeb on the backside as well. More mats for him to go ahead and feast on to live this life up right here that he's got before him, but he's got to find a chance to pop these minis. Look at the smart decision making to go ahead and slip back to the edge there, play the storm for a second, ride it out, and then ditch the box here. More mats for him. He's just cooking here. Top 3s before him if he can find another Elim, and of course he does. He puts one down, but couldn't convert there, and now it's a 3v3. This should be Kanata's game to win.
I don't know when Acorn Point Agers went down, but first and second place matching each other late in the game. They get contested late. Rapid goes down. Seek falls. That's the play he was trying to make. 2v1 situation. Osid is deep. He's far out of zone. Hopefully he has the heals, but it doesn't look like he does. He tries to make a play. Wanderer's medallion in hand. It's its only chance. It's only hope, but they continue to fall back. They have that strength in numbers monster, and they're ready to use it.
I love how Kanata's not even looking to take any risks. He's like, hey, look, Rapid, take this shield fish, heal up right now. We need every advantage we've got, and now let's turn our focus to high ground. There it is, tracking the zone perfectly, finding those weakened mats there, taking their time back and forth. It's just a matter of time here. There's no way Kanata's going to drop this opportunity. He should find it, but no! Rapid falls to the zone. Kanata's now ticking away here. He's lost sight. Osid's gone, and he will win the game! What just happened? How did they manage to fumble that?
From what we thought was a smart play, choosing to not take the fight turned out to be a disaster. That little bit of health differential in a 1v2, even with pressure down below, I gotta give Osid all the credit in the world, and I'll be looking, Monster. I'll be looking for a replay of exactly how he pulled that off.
We're gonna have to run that one back. I was surely counting them out, but I shouldn't have. After Osid takes down Peterbot, he might have just had the clutch of his career unfold right there. Down goes Bolts, down goes Rapid, and then he had Fish to work with. There it is, and that's how he wins the game in the end. A victory royale for Seek, J-Monster, and Osid. Zeke, what do you have after seeing that one?
All right.
Listen, this is giving me Donnie vibes, okay? Like, in what world should Osid get that victory royale? In what world should Osid solo clutch, take out Peterbot, get that medallion, and take that directly to a victory royale? This world, that's what world, what is going on?
That endgame was absolutely wild. I for sure thought that it was going to be Kanata's trio that absolutely controlled that endgame, and it kind of was. But honestly, we have to give credit to Peterbot. How is he able to do it time and time again? Get Elim after Elim, Vivid. Someone has to stop him.
Yeah, I mean, Peterbot always put on a little bit of a clinic there. A lot of our trios doing very, very well in that game. But Osid, I mean, how in the world is it possible to win that right there? I'm not gonna lie, like I was like watching it, and you know, it was like a 2v1, and I kind of stopped looking, you know what I mean? I was like, oh, this is done, you know, let me just stop watching. And then I look back and it's like, oh, Rapid's down, okay, you know, 1v1. Oh, Osid's gonna win this. Like, I have no idea what just happened on the high ground. I mean, Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts, they seem like they were in such control of that game. Allowed way too much time for Osid to kind of find, you know, regain on the higher ground right there, steal it from them. Osid with an incredible clutch.
The single fish, the coin, being able to just drop off radar, run into zone, and you're like, where is he? What does he have heals? Unbelievable stuff. So many things, little interactions here and there are changing the FNCS moment to moment. We will break that down so much more when we return after this short break, so don't go anywhere. There's a lot to talk about. after just 2 games of Fortnite. I'm gonna pass out. In case you missed it, OSID, G-Monster, Seek got themselves a victory royale in that last game against Kanata's trio. And for them, that means they are moving up 12 places. In terms of just prize money alone, this is unbelievable, and congratulations to the trio. But now, as we bring up these standings, friends, 660 points. I don't know what's happening. That's more than 200 points ahead of third place right now. Clearly, Pollo, Peterbot, their trios are running away with this competition. Let's start to maybe break down some of what we saw in that last game. Kanata, Rapid, Bolts placing second there. You know, on paper, it looked so much like it was theirs, right? Like, that should have been their victory royale. Obviously, it didn't happen. I don't want to nitpick on too much. What I want to highlight is what they did right in this game. So can you talk to me what happened? I mean, starting with that massive tower in like 9th, where they just were just ready for everyone else.
Yeah, they definitely positioned themselves real well. They saw that there was a little bit of a hill where the zone was pulling, and like you said, they were able to build that tower and kind of control the rest of the bottom of the lobby. They were really good on mats until they got kind of chopped from height there. That's when they started to have to drop down. Bolts there trying to enter an engagement, but unfortunately it was OSID that he actually went up against, and we saw how that went.
Yeah, I mean, this is a classic high game from Kanata. As you can see, you can kind of see in the eliminations as well. Every single time that Kanata finds himself on the high ground, he's going to be one on the trio that's just hitting all of the shots right there. But it's kind of a strange one right there out of Bullets, right? Usually you kind of send a person down to start engaging in some of those fights to look for the elimination points, because you're like, oh, listen, we're going to win the game anyway. But kind of like that win condition is always the heal off, and there was no heal off on Kanata or Rapid right there. So maybe a bit of a mistake out of that trio right there that kind of cost them the game. But yeah, Osa just hit every single pump shot that appeared on the screen at that end game and shut a lot of people down.
That's crazy. Right before we came back, Jacob PR whispered in my ear, OSID eliminated Peterbot and then absorbed his power, which almost made me break, Jacob. Almost had me. As we turn attention back to the standings, obviously right now still in first place, Agers, Acorn, and Pollo. Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot as well. I mean, we saw that moment out of Peterbot, right? A solo in 10th zone. And that's a tough spot to be in. And yet by the end, he still manages to find a total of 9 elims for the trio, right? Like, they are still putting up so many numbers, even in situations they should not be.
There was a moment where Agers, Pollo, and Acorn were all in a box together and faced off against Peterbot, and they all ran away. Peterbot gets like a one shot, and they all just turn around and go, nope. They know that skin. They know who it is. They did not even want to attempt to face him, and you can understand why after seeing that. Time and time again, he's able to go on to the Rift Island. He's able to get the medallion. He's able to be invisible and just kind of terrorize the bottom part of the map.
I mean, Peterbot just doing Peterbot things at the end there, but we got to go ahead and highlight, right? Cold and Ritual going down again. They're kind of in these layers where all the chaos happens in trios, and we talked about it the first week of FNCS. We're playing trios now, and some of these plays that can happen from some of these trios happen so fast, just like how Curly's team kind of just jumped right in on Cold and Ritual, immediately got those eliminations. There's so much chaos down there.
I mean, and even through all that chaos, right? One thing still rings true. Agers, Acorn, and Pollo on top right now. Third place, 7 elims in that last game. Guys, I don't know what it is, but this, they just can't be stopped, right? They can't be tripped up. They only had one game yesterday where they had a 13th with 1 elim. But ever since then, I mean, most of their games have been within that top 6. I mean, can we stop this freight train?
I mean, yeah, besides the 13th place game that they had yesterday and a 6th place game, which was their second worst performance, they have been in the top 4 every single time. And honestly, I mean, there's just so much to say about them, and we already have so many times. Agers and Pollo, just absolutely incredible fraggers. And Acorn has to be one of the smartest IGLs in the game. He just keeps on putting them into these advantageous positions. And even when he's by himself, he's able to frag at as well. And that's what I love about this trios competition. It's not about these specific roles, it's can you do everything, and this trio can.
Oh my gosh, 4 games to go. We're jumping right back on that battle bus because there is more action to be had. So casters, take it away.
insane to think about. If you start zoning out and really looking at Ager's, Acorn, and Pollo's performance, their average placement is incredible. Just almost near perfect Fortnite being played so far.
Yeah, they're just keeping up with the eliminations too. Because before this, I'm talking about how do you keep up with a team that's as aggressive as Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual. Even if you're placing at the top of the leaderboard, the eliminations make the difference. And let me tell you, they woke up hungry and hungry for more. Good thing we got the next game ready, Monster. So let's get into the action.
I'm ready for it. Game number 9 is here. This would be a critical moment in the tournament run right now. So far, the conversation seems to be, will Ager's, Acorn, and Pollo be the champs, or will Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot be the upset to their storyline so far? After that last game, I mean, it really shows you anything can happen in a world of Fortnite in an end game. I mean, I called it way too soon. So now I'm on edge right now.
Yeah, this is definitely going to get exciting, and it's going to get exciting real quick, because typically we look at like who's going to make the mistake, who's going to go down early, because to start the day, we were talking about it, it's just one game, one mistake that kind of gives up the lead that you have. Now, both of these teams are playing at such a high pace and a high skill level right now, matching each other in terms of placements and eliminations. This can go down to a photo finish in game 12, and I think myself and all of Fortnite are here for it.
Well, what I can say is so far, game number 1 and game number 8 have been my favorites as far as the end games here at the FNCS Finals for the North American Central region. It's been absolutely incredible. But jumping back in, do you see Noah and Chaos mixing things up? Trying to do a little surprise contest here on the western side of the Whiffy Wharf. Seems like things are not going in their favor at the moment. However, some trades, anything can still unfold here. But does seem like Noah W plays clutches in the end.
Yeah, the switch up proving to be worth it in the end. And there was a big switch up on that side of the map. We've seen a lot more presence from teams, especially a lot more third parties. So if they can continue to win these fights, they can go ahead and pick up a couple more placements, because even though first and second, a large margin, there's still thousands of dollars up for grabs.
Yeah, but look at this. Whiffy Wharf team, Nerface, sees what just went down there. You got to think about it, right? They're all flying in. They're like, huh, that's weird. There's a couple extra parachutes over that way. And all of a sudden now they turn their focus in and they're moving pretty quickly.
Uh-oh.
Aaron's got the outside angle. He's just cutting them off right now. There it is. Decision to open up. Noah's hurt badly here, Jacob.
They're just surrounding all around him. And luckily for them, Noah's teammate just kind of disengaged. He's trying to get out. At least the solo's trying to survive. And Noah's job here, even if he goes down, is just buy as much time as possible, so that way he can create as much distance as possible. And so far, I think he's succeeding in that regard.
Yeah, no Oni mask in hand either, so should be okay. There's the finish for Aaron. They're going to be happy about the damage as well. But just like that, I mean, you got to give them credit for winning the early fight on the surprise contest, but you never see it come in when the other teams are paying just as much attention.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Curve, Shadow, and Tyler are just trying to hide, cutting off a loot path towards the bird. They left all the chests, the floor loot, everything. Hoping that Aoxy, Jojo Fishing, their trio can take the bait. This is one of those situations where it's like, I should have seen that coming, but it's something you don't expect either.
I love this. I love when we see teams really pull out the dirty strategies. Oh, the big shotgun shot, the piece up. I mean, what can you do? Aoxy pulled that Typhoon Blade out. Try to get it on, but yeah.
His only hope, the shotgun could only hit one person. He's like, you know what? Let me at least make the effort.
Do something.
Try to Typhoon Blade. Ooh. Okay, so now they're just jumping on the team on the outskirts yet again. Rapid, Kanata, Bolts, Demons, Dojo, and this is something that team that lands there needs to start to really think about how they're going to get their loot and move out quick, because this is so isolated on this side of the map. Almost every single game, Rapid, Kanata, and Bolts have the option to do this, whether they get the eliminations or just put pressure to get their Storm Surge. It's their choice, especially if the zone isn't too far away from their actual POI.
It's the second time they've kept playing this outside as well, right? Just looking for that action here. Last time they did get into a bit of a skirmish, but all in all, time to double back. Let's jump in with Peterbot. What a performance last round for Peterbot, man. Really putting up the numbers. It's one thing to do it, you know, online from the comfort of your home and your usual setup, but we have seen him perform in person. We've seen it firsthand. This global championship that just passed, I mean, exceptional work from him and Boyo. So there's nothing they can't do, right? And then they're fighting for the medallion every game. If they're trying to really have that advantage over the lobby, clearly it goes a long way in the hands of someone like Peterbot.
And you're kind of like noticing where Peterbot from Flooded Frogs all the way to the west, relatively clear. There's not too many teams that land on this side. You go to the right though, Creon, Tony, they already lost Zeus. There's 2 more trios fighting just on the outskirts. They're using that as a distraction to try to disengage. Hopefully they have the reboot card, because then this in turn would be a free reboot, getting their teammate Zeus back into the game. And it just goes to show how one team on that side of the map, you can throw Acorn, Agers, and Poyo on the other side, really dictate the pace.
Yeah. Our previous game winners now under pressure here from Skittles, Victor, and Chimp. Saw on the highlight reel, Osid's key elimination onto Peterbot, getting that medallion, really set him up for success there. Third team behind Skittles? What just happened there? Oh, he must have shot his own ramp. I was like, what's going on?
Just trying to put pressure. Since they don't necessarily take that Magic Mosses fight right out of the gate, because that contested fight's just a little bit too risky. We saw both teams kind of win and lose that spawn fight off out of the gates yesterday, so I like this different approach. It's just all a matter of those teams around them rotate towards the south, give them the opportunity. Right now for G Money, Osid and Seek, both teams looking to kind of stay around this location, just kind of looting up the scraps. You see at least half of their material missing as well. So they got to start thinking, where am I going to get the metal? Where am I going to get the rest of that brick?
It's on the feed there. Peterbot find DC Awesomer, who was rotating up the outskirts. So just falling right into Peterbot's hands. And we're highlighting how dynamic they've been for their team to go ahead and go back to playing the west side, right? It just continues to play into their favor right now. Every single game, a little bit different. Shout out to Visuals with the camera on right here. We love to see our competitors really participate and give us that behind the scenes look here. It's definitely a nice little treat, and this is what you need to do right here. Get your farm on, get these fish going, really build up the reserves.
And usually when they have the surge, they're definitely in the game. As we check a look at about how they got that elimination onto DC. DC, we know he was left by himself, and that's just the sad thing. Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold rotated all the way towards Whiffy. But remember early on in the game, Monster, that Whiffy team pushed south to go ahead and try to get that Noah Plays elimination. So inevitably, Peterbot going for the chase, they end up finding DC trying to backtrack and get those reboot cards. And that's where that first of 2 eliminations was able to get picked up. And as soon as they do, you see them rotating all the way back towards the east. It's almost like a copy and paste for the most part of their game plan early on.
That's right. Everything's starting to piece together. I want to see what is it about Acorn, Agers, and Cold's or Boyer's early game there that is allowing them to find success with the surge, because clearly we've seen of emphasis on how Peterbot really forces almost the engagements at times, right, in the kind of their early game.
Like who's opening up, who's the one kind of getting that first shield cracking shot. So right now, I know they at least got good damage onto Sails. Batman Booga did, because he was trying to void orb away, but as they all kind of reunite in that same structure over across, it's a little bit too risky for Click's Batman Booga and Yamzo, considering how consistent they've been playing so far today. Oof, they're going to just continue to follow each other. The zone moves over, so they haven't really had to move far from their POI. So just like one of the games that we've seen earlier on today, I want to see them do exactly what Yamzo is doing. You know players are going to rotate to your zone, set up, try to get that damage early, and maybe send one person down below to fish.
This is exactly what I wanted to see. What is this team doing right now to find their activity, to remain so consistent? Boyo, Aegis, and Acorn seemingly have found themselves just ahead of the rest right now, and Boyo's playing a huge Storm Surge tower here. They seemingly have just split up, just full control of almost the center area here. Foxy Floodgate's still in sight as well, so they've got full visuals here on any teams rotating out, even outside of the Night Shift Forest.
And you see how spread out they are. They're covering as much ground as possible. Let to know exactly where so many other teams are. It's Vidil, Cooper, Sphinx. They typically do stay in and around Mass Meadows for quite some time. That's how they're usually getting surged on the whole eastern side of the map. But that's Olaf, Maxi, Smiley that are slowly but surely moving in towards Max. And that's a team that we saw kind of struggling for surge, fighting on the outskirts, a little bit more south from Max Meadows. Now they move north. They're still trying to take that same approach in order to get their surge, but they got to be careful. It's against Feeks, Vidil, and Cooper. We saw how massive Vidil went in that last game.
Yeah, definitely. Literally staying alive, somehow finding the refresh, picking up 2 eliminations. I mean, he was doing it all. Really putting up the numbers for this trio here. Let me just take a look at this leaderboard. Where did that even put them after such a great performance from him? Just kept them in third. Tied, by the way, 474. As Aviv, Bugha, and Threats rocket their way up as well with a near mirror performance. So, yeah, just all around, it was a critical game for them. Curve, Tyler, and Shadow, though, what just happened here? Picking up already their 3rd elimination in the game. Keep eyes on them there, as they're just being the disruptors of the lobby here. But Sphinx, Vidil, and Cooper have a long way to go before they get outside the zone, and there seems to be a lot of teams enjoying their time in the storm here.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those things when you look at a team just like this, they have about like 3,000 storm damage taken. So it's not necessarily the worst, but they're doing this so that they can rotate with a lot of these teams towards the outside, knowing they can't necessarily box up and play safe. And that's how they're accumulating their surge, especially on these northern pools. And it's kind of working out for the most part. They've only taken 17 storage hits throughout these 9 games so far.
Not bad at all. Zeus, Tony, and Creo, though. Eyes on Chimp, Skittles, and Victor V right here on the outside of the zone. Things seem to be coming back towards the Flooded Frogs right now.
Glad to see they were able to get Zeus back. Every member matters. At least it gives them a fighting chance. Even if it's kind of scraps that you got to search for. You can kind of worry about that later. Bugha getting a knock onto Curly in the feed. I gotta imagine, was that probably just south of Warriors, where they're able to probably get that elimination, but there's so much action going down around the map. I think teams are kind of learning on the fly. They're realizing their position on the leaderboard, and this is day 2 with almost half of the games already over. Timing is of the essence if you want to move up that leaderboard.
Yeah, just insane work. There's 5 teams in the pocket right here, and then 2 rotating on the outside. So just a messy situation going down right now, but this is what happens when teams rotate in a little late. And you know, just from studying, there's other trios that are definitely playing these zones.
Oh, there goes the fight. Shogun's Arena. Clicks, Batman Bugha, Yamzo. They're already up above. They isolated Batman Bugha for just a little bit. He tries to orb away, but he ends up getting glided upward. Good damage for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. Unfortunately enough, they were unable to clean up that elimination. But you can see what that's done to their damage. 319 above the damage threshold. Which is surprising because I feel like every single game so far, from 1,200 to 500, now 300, less and less damage as they reach the top of the arena every single game so far.
The real question is, do we think they took down the boss yet? Clicks, Batman Boogie, Yamzo. Clicks has saw a lot of success with that medallion too, right? So they're definitely here to fight for it. I don't think any of these trios want to give it away easily. Oh, the push onto Clicks, so he's got to be careful, but he had his Void Oni mask ready. Talk about preparation, but now that's it. Tricks out the hat. Let's see it. Peterbot forced to use those very crucial shield fish here. He's only got 3 left now. He's probably going to be looking for a med kit here. There should be plenty, given that all the chest spawn here. Look at this. Yamzo playing a sneaky bush off to the side, too.
have a feeling both of these teams know exactly who that is across from them on the map, because more times than not, Batman Booga clicks Yamzo. They got Peterbot down to 25 HP. They didn't even throw an orb over there to act like they were going to go ahead and push, because they realized you still have Cold, you still have Ritual, and Peterbot is still alive. That would have been too risky of a play, so they're just going to take their damage, not get too greedy, and continue on with the rest of their game. They cannot throw it away all for one moment.
And think about how they download this information, right? Like, who is wild enough in a game 9 to Oni mask in on someone that's based up like that? Like, very few players, only the cream of the crop will be willing to even take that level of risk. So surely they probably have an idea of what's going on here. Akoma's in Rise right now. Once again, play these iconic tower bases here in the mid game. It's cool to watch how this plays out. This has been very repetitive for them as well.
Yeah, they usually like to hold out teams just like this.
Gosh.
And it's fully breaking out now.
Fight. We're really getting
Only
it.
55 above the damage threshold. Like I said, every single game so far, it almost feels like there's surge less and less. Those opportunities aren't there, and that goes to shift of the lobby. Teams aren't wanting to be their Storm Surge anymore. They've had enough. They're rotating away. They're not giving them that chance. But Cold, the awareness over 9,000 right now. Sees Nut, Liam, and Fred moving up. He gets a little bit more damage, trying to alleviate the pressure of Storm Surge, but it's still not going to be enough because 91, 83, instantly falling down that slope.
No, no, no. Fred, Liam, get out of here. You're ruining the 3v3. We almost had a huge fight. I was so ready for it. The more likely this fight is to discontinue if Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold get the damage. And now with the boss being threatened here, they have to make this decision to actually try to secure this or possibly even give it up. Look, their material counts are halfway right now. Nut, Liam, and Fred jump into the mix, into the boxes. Do they realize that there are 6 players here? I'm not sure just yet, but surely they have to know now. Click seems to be super damaged on the other side of this entire exchange right now. What a fight that's breaking on here. Seems like things are just going to get more and more interesting as the boss starts to charge up. The destructive explosion, there it is.
Look at the awareness, though, from Cold and Ritual. And Peterbot, they immediately disengage. You know what? You guys want the high ground, take it. We don't want it, but we're seeing why. Yes, exactly. 191 or 99 below the damage threshold. This is not a situation you want to out-heal. You want to be proactive, get the damage, but they're hoping everybody below them makes mistakes and go down.
Well, the clock is ticking. They have plenty of heals. Into the box they go. Yamzo's waiting to catch a no. Clicks is there as well. You can just see the silhouettes. The shotguns are ready for war right now. Liam, Fred, Nut, though, failed the attempt to break in the first time. And Batman Booga's there with a huge shot. Wonderfully played there for them. That's going to give them the damage they need and the refresh to keep them in the game. And, you know, you really have to think about it. Cold and his team were counting on potentially refreshing up off of Click's Batman Booga and Yamzo here. And now that's almost spoiled. So hopefully they use this distraction to secure the boss. Look at what's going on, though, in the distance. The damage has been done. Ritual does have to pause down and heal for a second here, but Peterbot and Cold are jumping right back into the mix now. I think that they know that they need this elimination here.
Yeah, but Peterbot just gets tagged up. That's going to slow him down just a little bit from helping the rest of the team. You see shield missing above from Ritual as well. All that fighting for just 48. Even though you're above Storm Surge on that threshold, it's not a feeling of confidence, but Liam by himself spotted out on the other side. Peterbot goes in for the elimination. But he was so weak, they're still barely 80 above the threshold.
Yeah, he had enough of that. Just a tag. I mean, they know that they need to finish this fight here, and the commitment's already been through and through. I'm very concerned now for Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. That wasn't so much before, but after fully jumping away now, they're losing the trades here for damage. They're not finding the damage in exchange. Peterbot's so hurt here. Look at their HP counts. Barely safe as well. It's the boss that might be taking them out at this point.
I believe
Wow.
Storm Surge is active as well. They kind of fell below for a quick second before going right back up above. They took some damage. You can see how weak they actually are. If this isn't a sign of weakness, I don't know what to say, and I think they see it. Clicks, Batman, Booga, Yamso, they orb over, and they force Peterbot and Cold and Ritual off of the island.
In the end, it looks like the boss will be secured to Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo. They will be almost the kings of the hill at this point in time. But hold your breath. Someone looks like they've come back, potentially here for a moment, giving them a little bit of pressure, but no, Cold's gone. He had to get out. And this could be Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo's game now. And honestly, this could be the moment where Acorn and team break away for good.
Yeah, right now, they're only down 12 points. Clicks, Batman, Booga in 5th. Aviv, Booga, and Threats in 4th place. And already with 2 eliminations, that's an 8-point swing. It's all depending on the other side, but Cold is down. He was late to rotate, and you're seeing exactly what happens. Peterbot's trying to play defensive, hold multiple members back. That's Veer, that's Scare, that's Sinetto, and they're still, Monster's still barely above that threshold when it comes to Storm Surge. They're not only battling that trio, they're battling the damage as well.
Yeah, the thing is that they need eliminations and they need material badly. Yamzo, Batman, Booga coming down from the high ground. They've obviously kept tabs on what's happening down below. This is looking so bad right now. The save is going to go off, but at what cost right now? They do not have HP. I mean, at this point, they can only hope to be delivered something, but no, the Surge is now online, and they are just barely holding on.
Cold isn't going to get knocked from Storm Surge if it hits. Cold is going to straight get eliminated, just a sliver of HP, but Peterbot goes down. The battle between the Titans. Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo score a few eliminations and take 2nd place off the map.
What an elimination right there. What an entire trade of events here in game number 9. The pressure is on more than ever for Peterbot fans to come together and see if their guy can pull through. What a trade of events right there.
And I can see them right now. Pollo, Acorn, Agers, they're lacing up their kicks right now because with 2nd place down, that was the only team that's really within reach. They're ready to run away with this. They just need to continue the blueprint, the consistent games. It doesn't even have to be high elimination heavy. It's just all about surviving, and they're doing just that. Immediately orb to the center of the zone. Twas it opened up. They knew not many teams were already there.
Yeah, this is crazy because now they already had 40 points. They're about to, earn that gap back that Peterbot and team just had started to build for themselves after that last game 8 win. And this is also going to allow other teams to actually make a run for even the 2nd seeded spot now, because you can't fall in the end game like that. Not the way they did, not before the placement points really get to start reward the lobby here. Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts, they'll see themselves once again back on the high ground here. Take 2 for the end game here. I'm sure that they're still eating themselves up after the last one, but here we have it.
Almost 200 points down of that 2nd place team. And this is the chance because they already have 5 eliminations. They can score a couple more with a big win. I think they'll give themselves a chance going into the last half of the day. Yapko's doing that, getting elimination on DeSales. Whole nother trio on the other side, and he's kind of picking and choosing wisely. He's on the front side of the zone, waiting for the rest of the team to catch up. Buzz, he's the one that's kind of peeking through the cone along with Rise, knowing exactly where they need to rotate. They know they have to go now.
Boyo's on the way as well. Acorn and Agers get to the front side of zone now. They're just positioning up here. Still a ways to go, though. They're going to go for the material builds as opposed to using more Oni charges, but High Ground's got their eyes on them. Gotta turn up. Booga, Threats, and Aviv are tackling High Ground right now. Kanata comes down, though. He sees that things might be getting broken out, and yes, it actually all does get chopped here to fall. Booga and Aviv must be livid right now as they fall to the damage there. And now Bolts, Rapid, Kanata take advantage of this. They go for High Ground, but another team has got their eyes up there as well. It's potentially Clicks and Pollo's team as well. What is going down? This game 9 is crazy. Keep your eyes on everything happening here. Boy, yo, Acorn and Agers could be looking to take things away right now. And if they do, it will be a one for the books here. Another elimination right now falls there. Take a look. Rapid falls as well. And now we're inside the top 10. Agers, Acorn, Boyo need to refresh here, though, as they're running out of materials. But no, Boyo ends up falling, unfortunately, now. And it's Rise, Japco, and Muzz looking to make the climb back to the top. You just couldn't write this story yourself. It's all unfolding here and now. Japco, Muzz, and Rise looking to be one of the few teams to take another victory royale here on the FNCS final stage. Agers, though, is still holding on. Every point that he earns right now is going to set himself further and further away from Peterbot's trio. Do keep in mind about that. Still has to jump down, though, find some heals here. Potential to save his teammate, but no, there's just no time to work with here. He will have to just play this one out by himself right now. And luckily, those knocks are giving him the scan for information here on the rest of the lobby. Take a moment to pay attention, really allow this to kind of settle in here. Meanwhile, Clicks is still alive. That medallion in hand, 28 HP though. It's not looking good. Where's the Amzo? Where's his teammate? They're both split up.
Opportunity though. Clicks has a chance to go clutch. He has the medallion, a Peterbot-esque performance, and it comes down to this, but he gets knocked. The Amto's now the last one surviving. Agers feeling that same pain, but he scoops up the medallion just in the nick of time.
This is crazy right now. Agers is still on the move. He's got the medallion now. He can't be tracked with the visuals. Give him away. 12 HP now, back against the wall. A top 3 for Agers. Who would have thought it'd go this far? And in the end, he still gets the knock. It allows Muzz, Rise, and Japco to win another game.
They stayed on top. They made sure they didn't take part in any of that mess on the low ground, forcing solo after solo, duo after duo to clash down below so they can smooth sail across that finish line and take that first place in this game.
What a game number 9 that was. A roller coaster of emotions going through not only us here on the commentary booth, but also the community as Peterbot's team falls early. Acorn's team runs away with it. Agers finding the critical impact eliminations in the end to keep them up in top 3. And then Muzz, Rise, and Japco. My gosh, we love to see them win, and they do it in a spectacular fashion here for game number 9. I mean, Zeke, I need your expert analysis and the rest of the team here at this point.
I've got it. I'm gonna break it down. You ready? I passed out. Man, yeah, Muzz, Yapko, Rise. What's crazy about this trio, man, is it's just like every time it looks like someone else is gonna have height, they're just waiting. It's like they have that perfect timer. And this is actually something Kelly talked about last year, where it's like everyone fights for high ground, but it's like that 11th zone, which is when they took it, that's so like the perfect time, right, Kelly? Like that's the time to strike.
I mean, we've definitely seen success, even as close as yesterday, to teams going around zone 8, zone 9, building up this early height and being able to control it, especially when zone does pull over their old builds. But you just can't do that, especially with TPs right now, especially with just how aggressive our top 8 teams are being. Everyone wants high ground. High ground wins games. We say it time and time again. And Muzz, Yapko, and Rise have just been playing so patiently. That really is the key to their success right now, is that they're not going for these high elimination games. In fact, out of the top 5, they have the lowest amount of eliminations out of anyone. But they don't need those eliminations if they're able to make these end games over and over again.
You know, this game was honestly crazy, right? Game number 9, because every single high ground situation throughout pretty much all of the games that happened so far, it's usually just a team kind of gets it, that first move zone, right? 9th, 10th zone, whatever, and then they kind of have it for the rest of the game. Maybe there's like one fight that kind of happens for it. But there was like, what, 5 teams kind of thrown in the mix for the high ground that game, right? Like all of a sudden the gears started to turn for a lot of these teams. They're like, no, I want high ground. And at the end of it, Muzz, Yapko, and Rise, they just kind of end up on top because, like Kelly mentioned, the most patient trio out of all of the ones that actually wanted it, that was them. And in the end, they come out on top.
Man, you love to see it. Now, of course, what do the standings look like? Not good. Wait after this break to see with your own eyes, because you're going to be just as shocked as I am. When we return, we'll break all of that down and so much more. Welcome back. So, are you ready to see these standings? Are you ready to see what transpired this last game? Because I'm going to tell you right now, you're not. You're not ready to see what has happened in this last game. Agers, Acorn, and Pollo are now almost 100 points ahead of Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, all off the back of Ager's solo clutch. You know, guys, I don't know what it is about this season in particular, but it feels like just across the board, there's so many more solo clutches that have been happening. And it's not just like, oh, you know, like I made like top 25 or I made top 15. Like, no. He made 3rd place and walked away with 6 elims.
Yeah, if you look at all of the solo clutches, half of them are Agers. I actually looked back on my notes from yesterday and today, and Agers got a solo clutch in Game 2, Game 3, Game 4, Game 5, Game 7, and Game 9 now. It is absolutely insane. I don't know what he had for breakfast today, but please let me know so that I can have some myself. He is absolutely carrying his team. And I say carrying, but he's also playing with Pollo and Acorn, who are playing out of their minds as well. But just when it comes down to these rough situations, Agers is able to come out and survive time and time again.
And honestly, you know, coming into the weekend, I expected Video, Cooper, and Sphinx to kind of be the team that was going to be finding eliminations throughout the moving zones, right? Keeping that momentum-based play style up that I kept kind of coining. But it seems like, you know, Acorn, Agers, and Pollo have almost taken on that identity. They keep playing in the middle of the end game right there, just finding eliminations. They're box fighting so well together that they're getting very, very far into these games. And then, I mean, Asia's just putting on incredible performances, just establishing a lead on the leaderboard for them right now. I don't know. It's close. We still got 3 more games left, but it might be all done and dusted. I don't know.
I don't know. All right, Fortnite's taught me a lot. All right, we got to wait to see what the last 3 games hold for us. But what happened, right? Why did this lead develop? Well, remind ourselves back in that fight over Rift Island, right? Peterbot's up there, he's chilling, and you're thinking, okay, here we go again. But what happens, right? Clixiamzo, Batman Booga, they look to take this fight, and then what ends up happening, they get left in a shambles situation where Storm Surge is now their problem, and it is enough to just completely dismantle them. To think this all happened because Clixiamzo and Batman Booga decided to take this fight to Rift Island, and then on top of that, Kelly, I mean, Fredbot, Liam, and Nut joining in on the action as well. It got out of control way too quick.
Oh, and we actually get to watch that right now. We can actually see that Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, I believe they were there first, but Clix probably noticed how much success Peterbot was having with that medallion. So he says, I want it for myself. Cold's trio, with their aggression, they know that they could probably have this 3v3 and win, but it was actually Clix, Batman, Booga, and Niamzo that were kind of able to hold them off. And then, as you say it, Liam's trio jumps up as well. They are below Storm Surge. They need to go on the aggression. And so they think by kind of third-partying this fight happening, they might be able to get some tags that they need. Speaking of tags being needed, this might be the first time, Vivid, that we've seen Peterbot so close to Storm Surge.
Yeah, I mean, even dropping below it, right? They were taking some damage from it a little bit throughout that game. Definitely did not get the fights that they were looking for in the early game. But I mean, we have to shout out Clix, Batman, Booga, and Yamza, right? They were kind of in the same situation there. They were up on that island. They had the third party kind of come in. They were taking shots. The boss was flying around up there. They got 4th place, 8 eliminations that game, right? They still made it out and did very, very well that game, which honestly, I feel like has kind of been the story for that trio, you know, Clix, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo. It's like almost every single game that we tune into, there's like something that looks like it's going wrong, but it just doesn't matter. They still clutch up. They find a game plan. They recover in some way, shape, or form, and that's why they're towards the top of the leaderboard right now.
And to think, right, like in that moment where they fight for the island, Peterbot goes on the aggressive, right? He goes to try and port on Clix, and then immediately his whole trio claps back onto Peterbot, and now he's sent recoiling. Like, there is so much fight in all of these trios, right? And even if we're looking at it, okay, like, yeah, Pollo 732 points, like we're not aiming for first, there's still a ton of prize money on the line, right? So even just a single change in placement means so much to all of these trios. And I think we have 3 more games. I don't even know, I may not make it, okay? All right. If I don't make it, just make a little statue of Frog for me and my favorite POI, you know the one. But that being said, though, we are getting dangerously close here. These trios, it is now or never. With 3 games left to go, we need to pull out on the stop. So we're going to send it back over to our casters. Monster D-Face, Jacob PR, take it away. Take me away, please.
Zeke, don't worry. I'll put you on the back. We will cross that finish line no matter what happens at the end of the day. But Monster, 3 games left. That puts a lot of pressure, not only on Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, but every team down below them that wants to have that fighting opportunity.
Yeah, it does. I was looking at the standings and just trying to see who today is performing the best. You got to give credit to Noxyverger and Curly, who have had a tremendous day 2 performance so far. If the multiplier, it only makes you wonder, if the multiplier was at play, we would have a much different standing. However, it's just down to consistency. So let's see it for game number 10.
All it takes now is one mistake like that last game from Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, and we will have a race for second place. Agers, Acorn, and Pollo, they might need a few more hiccups in their game plan, but with 3 games left, Monster, I feel like anything, and I mean anything, can still happen.
Yeah, Agers, Acorn, and Boyer are playing comparatively the same as Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot, because today they've earned 220 points, and Ritual's team has earned 216 points. So they're very much neck and neck as far as like how their games are going on average. However, Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot obviously needed to make up for the deficit, the 90-point gap that separates them. And now it's just like a huge setback for them, right? It almost puts them back to game number 7, right? Where we kind of began the day here today. So these next 3 can go either way, but we can't see a mistake come out of them.
Yeah, you're already seeing drop spots switch up, Visuals, Braids, and Aminish moving back on over to Foxy Floodgate. Before Major 1 even started, this was a potential contested fight we were going to see. Bucky, Ocus Crade say, you know what, I don't care. I've been contested almost all my life. Bring the fight to us. Visual, Braids, and Aminish, they take the slower approach. They went to Rainbow Field. They try to take advantage of a team that wasn't as experienced, but with everything on the line here, it looks like they're going back to what they know best, and with 2 eliminations, looking like they're going to hound on to Craze here for the 3rd and the wipe.
And you can tell they know the drop. Like the fact that he knew that you could throw a wall through the, you know, the sewer right there. Like, come on. It's the little things. They've been here. They know how to play it out. At this point, if you got to get the points. Well, there you go. Take down another team. So well played for them, and really flexing their knowledge of the drop. Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual doing what they do best. But last game really makes you wonder, why did they have such a low surge threshold, you know, overall damage come to mid game? Clearly, I was putting emphasis on them playing so dynamically, right? Switching up their rotations, but something clearly did not go in their favor last game, and they didn't get the activity they needed. Back to hopeful heights, though. What's going on here? Okay, so Noah's team is just the thorn in everyone's side right now, contesting, mixing things up, finding their drops, and this time they somehow take down Oliver OG pretty quickly. I guess the confidence is up.
Yeah, not as many third parties this time around. Last game, different POI, of course, but that third party almost came in immediately, even though they did win that off-spawn exchange. Wasn't able to kind of make nothing as DC was chased down as a solo. Now, this time around, I feel like they're catching a couple players off guard at their actual drop spots, proving to be fruitful for the early game. And it's kind of comparative, because you look at, obviously, first place, $180,000. But if you go down to 5th place, $28,000, $20,000, $20,000, all the way down, even $10,000 for 11th place. There's still a life-changing amount of money for everybody in this lobby.
Definitely big amounts of cash on the line right now, and that Blade of Champions and your trip to the globals. I mean, there's so much to play for right here, and it is all going down here and now. I mean, we're late into the tournament series right now. If you're just tuning in, game 10 of 12, this is it. Couple rounds left here. Oh, take a look at this. Clicks, Batman, Booga, Yamzo find themselves up against Liam and team. It's a team that's had a lot of notable early game fights. They actually were one of the trios to join in on the island fight just last round. So Clicks, Batman, Booga, Yamzo could be finding some sweet revenge. Little do they know, but they're going to take a little bit of damage. It seems like they want to back out.
Yeah, just kind of take what they get. move forward. It's like the early right now, but you see where the zone is at. It has potential to pull towards the south, maybe even center up. They know it's not going to pull all the way towards the north like some of the other zones before, so they immediately continuously trying to rotate on down. And it almost makes me believe the lobby switching up here is really dictating some of our top teams, because last game when I was watching Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, they were rotating towards Whiffy. But in that game, one team landed Whiffy and already went south, so they weren't able to get their early surge. So it's not only up to you. A lot of these other teams adapting, changing things up, are really making sure to keep us on our toes.
That's exactly what it is. Back to the Shatter Span, though. Who would have thought Muzz, Rise, and Jabko be taking multiple victory royales this weekend? That's a huge surprise, I'd say, for myself here. But nonetheless, great to see. Now they're riding the heels of Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot. I mean, we've been getting all the credit to Peterbot's could tackle first. At this pace, Muzz, Jabko, and Rise could be one of the teams. But still, though, Agers, Acorn, and Pollo have been playing near flawlessly. The way they're dropped also maps out. I mean, we saw a glimpse of it. They split those triple towers. They got widespread of the center of the general area, and they haven't had the same issues for Surge. Not like Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, who have to do almost the riskiest of options. Go find a full fight, right? They're not playing those Surge bases. They're not getting to zone early. They're taking fights in the storm.
Yeah, and I kind of feel for Nut, Liam, and Fredbot, and this is how they got that first elimination. Is just either Clicks, Yamato, Batman, Booga, or Peterbot, Ritual, and Cold. Those have been the two primary teams that not only been fighting, but rotating throughout the majority of this entire tournament. And that's saying something, because that's a lot of pressure that you're gonna have to go up against. But Brutal Boxcars contested most of this time, even though it's not exactly the two teams. It's OSID, G Money, and Seek that are down there rotating from Magic Mosses, just trying to get as much metal, just trying to get some Storm Surge. This is why the full fight is breaking down. But Tony up above, trying to grab the tops. He's doing a good job now, pressuring them from above while his teammates are pressuring down below.
Also, G-Monster and Seek doing an excellent job playing defensively here, but Zeus takes a little bit of a shot right there, and they're forced to back on out. And this could be a bit of a major setback here for Seek, OSID, and G-Monster, whom I still stand to say have had the craziest clutch of the weekend so far. Definitely an exciting one from OSID's side.
Kind of scares me a little bit, because you know what two teams are north of them. And if they hear this, the potential for the third party is going to be there for Seek, OSID, and G Money, choosing to take this fight instead of the contested one. They want to make sure they have enough loot to fight it off, and already it's seemingly working out. G Money's going to get that first elimination onto Creon, giving them a 3v2 advantage. Nobody else in sight. A nice shot from Tony onto OSID, backing him down. G Money's going to go down as well. Everything falling apart right before our very eyes. OSID scrambling, but he gets taken down as well. That's a lot of pressure on one person, but Tony loses his teammate as well. 1v1 from 3v3.
Seek goes for it again, and Tony gets shut down. And Seek with the 3-man piece up right there ends up winning it all and saves G-Monster in the nick of time right there. What an exchange of events. That's a huge, huge letdown, though, for Seek, G-Money, and OSID, who were nearing the top 10 overall cumulative points on the leaderboards there. Man, that's got to be tough.
Kind of see Agers, Pollo position in the top of their surge base. Kind of see on the side that little blue arrow kind of fishing in the river. That's going to be Acorn, making sure that all of this damage that they do take on top of the tower can easily be replenished by any sort of shield fish if they can grab them. Down below, you see a lot of other teams positioned high up, trying to do the same thing, but if they don't have that little bit of water, they're the ones that are going to be feeling most of the pain. Bolts, Rapid, Kanata finally rotating south from Demon's Dojo. They have a lot of time and space to take as much time as they need, but this time around, they're just trying to beat the zone on the other end.
See how it's going to play out, though. Onima's starting to come out, so they have their escape plan here. Have to be careful. Team behind the mountain, but Cold lurking. Looking for the opening shot here. Shot from behind and doesn't even flinch. That's how dedicated he was to hopefully getting the ambush right there, but it is what it is.
To say, who is that? That was Oreo and his trio on top of the Boxcars mountain. It's almost like revenge, because last game we saw Peterbot take down Oreo when he had elevation on top of the island. Just a little bit of revenge. They have all that space over the mountain. They can continue to spread out. They know exactly where this team below them is rotating. There's only one way into that tunnel and only one good way out. So they can kind of mirror them all across the top of that mountain.
Back with Curly, Noxy, and Virgo right now. Early game fight here up against Noah W Plays. So from one battle into the next, Hopeful Heights continues to bring trouble here for Noah W Plays' trio. If it wasn't Power Polis and Listen, it's Virgo, Noxy, and Curly who have had the best overall day today when it comes down to your average eliminations and placement points earned. They have been trending their way straight up the standings. And now that puts them right in the conversation here for entering into the top 10. Well, let's watch it though. Or I should say the top 5, as they're in 7th right now. Right behind Vidil, Cooper, and Sphinx.
And you got to think right now, if this tournament were to end, they get about $20,000 for their placing. If they get inside of the top 5, $8,000 more. If they get inside of the top more, $15,000 more. And even more after that for every placing above. So even though it's going to be a long shot, almost have to play perfect in order to take that #1 spot. It's still hope. There's still a goal for them to meet. And everywhere across the map, Spooga, Threats, Aviv, trying to replicate that success from yesterday. Kind of flying under the radar, holding their spot toward the top side of the leaderboard, and finishing strong in Game 6 with a huge victory royale, being able to build that confidence and momentum going into today, day 2.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really thinking about that top 2 though, right? Seats to the globals. This is the time to do it. Mason, Chance, and Donnie already in the fight here, so they join into the Hopeful Heights battle going down right now. This little skirmish here. Mason's gonna go in and secure himself the finish for Donnie. And then Virgo, Curly, Noxy thinking about re-engaging back in. They're like, wait a second, we just left this. What's going on here now? Another team's fighting already?
So many teams even changing up their drops. Mason,
Ooh,
Donnie,
whoa.
they're going in along with Chance.
Okay.
Typhoon Blade's going crazy. They haven't really achieved any big damage, but this is a team. Last game, we saw them at the north side of the map with Noah, Chaos, and DC. Now they're at the south side of the map. They're just trying to do what they can to take advantage, just like Noxy, Curly, and Virgo. They realize they're the third party, and this is their opportunity to just try to sneak up on any one of these teams, try to catch somebody out of position. But they need to be careful because there's another team to the south down below them slowly moving in.
To be fair, if you allow 3 professional players to get onto your wall, they deserve to pull out the Typhoon Blades and all 3 swing at them. That was crazy. That could have ended so badly. I was actually hoping to see something happen there, but nonetheless, Chance, Mason, and Donnie continue to see another day. Now, though, surrounded by Noxy's trio here. They're looking in, continuing to kind of search for the action, search for the opportunity.
Doesn't even look like Noxy, Virgo, and Curly are on the same page right now, scattered around, potentially looking for Noah, even though he's not a solo overall in this game. He's a solo in the position at Hopeful Heights. His teammate far away from him on those turtles, just trying to stay alive. If you go down, I got you. And Noah's like, no, if you go down, I got you. It's kind of the hope for the situation that they're in. And we got a new team on top of the island trying to claim that medallion. Kanata, Rapid, and Bolt. And we know the damage they can do in a lobby like this if they're able to possess that medallion.
Yeah, this is a big pickup right now for Kanata, Rapid, and Bolts here. I mean, they're in 8th place right now. They had a 2nd place game just a couple rounds ago. So far today, almost finding their chances to kind of break away here. However, just coming up short. But they remain in the conversation. Clicks, Batman, Boogan, and Yamzo back on over to them. As they've now exited their way from the storm line into kind of this Foxy floodgate area at the moment.
Storm Surge going to activate. Not too many worries from Batman Booga and his trio. 649 above the damage threshold. Still finding opportunities for more. And since they know they're at the edge of zone, the edge that's pulling down towards the south, they kind of give themselves options. Wait at the edge, find a lot of these teams that are slow to rotate in, or just quickly find their position. Very, very similar to Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual, not wasting any time on the edge this time around. They got the fight they were looking for in the early game, and they got the flexibility to rotate, and that's exactly what they did.
Now they're looking to hit some tags here onto Bugha, Aviv, and Threats, who have a pretty sizable base set up here at the Seaport City, but we've seen them maintain this position time and time again. The zones here, this is the way they play it out. They build a huge base. The only time we've actually seen them abandon that is when they had to full collapse on a trio that was invading their area, which just so happened to be Chimp, Skittles, and Victor V. No easy pickup, but they ended up sweeping the floor with them really quickly.
Muzzrise and Yapko. This is exactly what Vivid kind of broke down yesterday to start the day. Their game plan, they land at Shattered Span. If the zone pulls to the east, they can easily rotate north. They can rotate south, kind of pick and choose. And this time around, they went towards the south, and kind of see at the edge of the zone, they don't have too far to rotate. And they're going to be one of those teams to kind of position themselves probably at the edge of that hill, right outside of Seaport City. Look towards the south and try to hold as many teams out as possible. They're 250 above the damage threshold, but you know that can change in the blink of an eye.
Saw a little hit marker there. I thought Muzz found that long range connectivity. Not just yet, though. Speaking about Chimp and team, though, seems like they're a bit of a skirmish here against Power Polis and Listen already. So two new trios, relatively hungry, going head to head right now. Minis starting to be shared about here, so the damage is being done. Meanwhile, Acorn, Boya, and Agers looking a little worse for wear. This is about the worst we've seen them come in mid-game, but they have all the damage. They're just on the hunt right now for a little bit more. They could use the material count. There it is, securing this elimination. The timing couldn't be better for Agers here now.
More damage means an easier time handling that Storm Surge. There's one team just outside of where the actual zone is right now, trying to look back. They heard all this noise going down. I don't think they've been given an opportunity of sight. You can kind of see they're very, very parallel to one another, but that Scare, Sonetto, and Veer, and they have the option right now. Wait, take damage from Storm, try to hold them out, or simply try to rotate in, worry about the damage that they need later.
In order for Ritual, Cold, and Peterbot to have the space that they need to just jump up with a single game, it's going to take Agers, Acorn, and Boyo to play terribly and for have something go really wrong. If that doesn't happen, I mean, this is going to be a close race all the way to the top here. Sphinx, Video, and Cooper, though, standing strong so far. 499 points earned over the 2 days of competition. They've also been one of the few teams to secure those Victor Royales. Their strat so far has been relatively, I would say, consistent. We haven't seen them have too much troubles just yet.
From island to down below, they have a lot of different resources here at their disposal. They just need to figure out how they're going to rotate to zone, but on the other side, Muzz, Rise, Yapko, not only down below the threshold, Storm Surge is active every couple of seconds. That'll be 25 damage. And they're stuck kind of in Seaport City. There's not really too many players they can fight, and the only ones they can actually pounce on is Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual right down below. And I feel like that's going to be their only option as soon as they realize they're there.
Yeah, I was just going to say, think about who they get to choose from. Like, Bugha's team's already gone. Now it's up to Peterbot's team to fight this one off, and the Storm Surge is doing the damage. They're already gone. Muzz, Rise, and Japco might have been too late to the punch.
You can see there's a lot of empty inventory slots. They don't have a ton of heals. They're now going into the reserves. 156. Not only Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual rotating around, but the majority of the players on that side of the zone. They got to start getting desperate, but it works. Yapko finds that big elimination onto one. Not enough damage. Still looking for more. That's Skittles. That's Victor V right down below him as well, along with Chimp. And it's all or nothing right now for Muzz in a 2-tick zone without any heals. It comes down to this moment, and it's Storm Surge that takes him down. Yapko, even though he gets some damage, it's Storm itself that takes him down, leaving Rise to abandon the play and try to finish this one out as a solo, but no! Rise goes down as well. Storm Surge taking down another one of our premier teams.
What a situation to unfold here, Jacob. I mean, it just doesn't get worse than this for them. It was looking so good until it wasn't, and now the podium starts to open up and space is being made. Can Clips, Batman, Booga, and Yams to take advantage of this is the question at this point. I mean, it's all up to everyone else now.
Yeah, they started this game roughly like 13 points down from second place, which is Muzz, Yapko, and Rise. Placement points haven't even been given yet, and they find even more eliminations. That's their 8th one. Now, I feel like they've overtaken them on the leaderboard. Down 13 to start the game, 4 eliminations, that's 16 points. Depending on how many Yapko, Muzz, and Rise were able to grab before they went down, but Cold has been dropped. Peterbot, Ritual, now it's just Peterbot. I believe Ritual just went down, fully eliminated, and they're quickly on the offensive. That's Pikes, that's Aoxy, that's Jojo Fishy on the other side, and this could be a big confidence-boosting win for them.
Definitely love to see it right now. Peterbot has to pick up Cold here. Can they bounce back? Man, disaster happening everywhere right now. So unfortunate for everyone that's a fan of Peterbot. Was hoping for them to go ahead and take the lead, and just like that, Jacob, looks like everything is crumbling. But if you're Agers, if you're Acorn, if you're Pollo, you're so excited about how this is all playing out so far.
Now you can kind of see him right now, 75, a couple of good shots, 107. Storm Surge is going to be a worry for them as this game does continue. Rapids down. We saw him take a damage a few moments ago, but they full boxed up, the double revive. That's going to take no trouble to get them back up as a trio. And immediately you see them going for work, hunting, trying to figure out who is nearby that they can try to take on.
I'm just watching, paying close attention to that damage threshold right now that's starting to lurk and creep up on everyone in our competition right here. 95 above, pressure looming, full trio in front of them. Can Peterbot and Cold do it once again here? Can they continue to find their opportunities to claw back into it? Of course they can. You can't count them out. They're still extremely, extremely dangerous.
Smiley definitely put a smile on my face, I'll tell you that much. They didn't even see it for that moment, but Peterbot's reactions are just way too quick to let that one fly. You see the top of the mountain, Clicks, Batman, Booga, Yamso, one of them, Curve, Tyler, Shadow, another team, quick to rotate, trying to grab that positioning. They know there's more of that mountain to open up. Both teams have their eyes on that prize, but down below, Agers, Pollo, Acorn trying to go through unnoticed. And this is what they've been doing. They haven't been necessarily taking high ground early on. They're not putting themselves in a position to get contested on the congested side of the zone. It's just pure brain power coming out of Acorn.
Like what I'm watching right now from Agers, Pollo, and Acorn, though. Still moving, getting high ground, positioning themselves perfectly, and although they don't have the most damage, they have still managed to secure themselves a decent position here overall. Meanwhile, 32 below now, and there still is a fair amount of players that will have to fall here. Peterbot, Cold will have to get active. They're on the low ground as well. Focus starts to come in from the lobby. They know that they need to get out, and they got to get out quick. Peterbot goes first. More pressure coming in, though, as they get tracked through other teams. A little bit of mats here, though, he gets to play with.
Anything's better than nothing considering the situation that they're in. Storm Surge still going to activate at least one more time, but Pollo, Acorn, Agers, elimination was found throughout the past couple of seconds. That was Pollo and Agers who got credit for that one, tearing him apart. And you can see they desperately needed those resources. 14 material onto Pollo. You know high ground might not be possible for them this game.
Definitely not right now. But look at this. Threats going in. Greeting for the loot. Saw the wall was open there and decides to double back now. Booga, if even Threats could use the pickup here. Diego skates out to the side. Might be Cease Blake and Jack will pick up the Elim there. Meanwhile, Cold and Peterbot still in the game here. Saw for a brief moment there, though. High enough. Agers on the other side of the wall. Sphinx, Fadil, and Cooper just to the right side here. Peterbot goes in onto Booga, but no. Uncharacteristically misses the shot that he needed to keep him up.
A nice cheeky little attempt for him. It's not every day you kind of see him just try to pounce and then kind of disengage back onto his teammates. Pollo, Acorn, Agers, 385, more than enough. And you see them looking up, eyeing with the idea for taking high ground with only 6 builds. If they want that to be a possibility, they got to get a refresh first, and running them down is going to be Peterbot's Cold. It's a duo, and they're forcing him down below. Peterbot's just taking so much damage right before he falls, now leaving Cold as a solo.
And this is going off the mountain. I mean, anything can happen. Top 10 now for Peterbot and Cold. That's where they're going to get cemented in this lobby here. But Boyo, Acorn, and Agers are just running away with the points now. And the more that they earn here, this is where they really get to solidify their lead here, making it near impossible for the rest to catch up if they can't be stopped now. Acorn does fall here. There's a little crack in the armor, but Boyo follows up. He's trying to secure the points here. He gets one. Can he get the second? The Siphon starts to keep him in the game here.
Being targeted down below, Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo, that's the team. And you got to remember, second place out, third place gone early on. And that's Clicks, Batman, Booga's chance to rise up that leaderboard and take a shot at second place. Agers, first place, still alive, trying to hang on to what he can. 8 builds left, but with the Typhoon Blade, he's making it look easy, gliding his way to the front side of the zone, giving himself a fighting chance to get into the top 5 and even more after that. But he runs into trouble. Badil on the other side, we know the solo masterclass that he has. He takes down Blake, but he gets taken down. That Sphinx. Agers gets the elimination, the Siphon, and the little bit of materials that he needs most.
But Jojo gets him right afterwards, and Aoxy and Jojo get exactly what they need. A little bit of time to work with some mats as well. Fidel and Cooper are the only ones alive. Aoxy caught out of position, though, and this is a new opportunity, a new chance for someone to potentially win this game here.
4th place was still alive. 6th place still alive. This is a game that is definitely going to send Crakes down that leaderboard, and they target upward. Cooper's going to go down. One of the few trios left in the game because Rapid gets taken down. Curve is on high ground. He's trying to survive unnoticed as what I think is a solo because everybody is scared of this trio down below. Bolt's just trying to survive. Everybody's just trying to move back. They know that it's just dangerous to drop down low.
This is great for Clix, Yamzo, Batman, Booga, the only strong team alive, the full team up as well. Curve is just here, Vadil's gonna fall, and now the math is starting to make sense for Yamzo, Clix, and Batman, Booga. And remember, with every drop, with every elim they get that scan to go off too, so they have the information. I think they recognize what's happening. They're gonna hear the battle taking place up top, and this should be theirs. Curve gets chopped out. It's a 3-man fire show here. Yamzo, Clix, and Batman, Booga are getting to work, and they're looking to add their way up to a potential top 3 now.
Big game. They just got to go through Bolts. He does have that medallion. Does have the potential to make a play. He is an FNCS champion, and down he goes. He's trying to go on the offensive. Out of builds is going to be Clicks, but 3v1. The numbers speak for themselves. A big win for Clicks, Batman, Booga, and Yamzo, and they set their eyes at the top of the leaderboard.
Very nicely done. You couldn't count them out. Give them their flowers. They get a dub again here on the big stage, and that's the best they've done so far. From 5th place now, they will surely be up in a top 3 conversation here, given that all that close competition is starting to come falling down. That was a game for the books for them, and you know what? A pivotal moment here in the tournament standings. I think we have a fight for who's going to be going to Global Championship here, and I can't wait to see how it's going to go down. Take a look, though, from the other side. It was just easy street at this point.
Yeah, Bolt did what he could. Orbs tried to drop his way down, but 3v1, too much to overcome. And that is match number 10 done and dusted. Monster, there's only 2 games left and 3 people I trust to break down the action. Zeke, Kelly, and Vivid, take it away.
Clicks fans, rise up once again. A victory royale for your boy. Clicks, Yamzo, Batman, Booga for the first trio to zone in 8th. We saw them use those bats to teleport ahead of time. They saw the moment we get that circle, we're going for it. And look at this. We get a victory royale out of this game. You know, Clicks is going crazy. You know, Yamzo is stoic. You know, Batman Booga is lighting up right now. I mean, man, to do this in game 10 with 2 more games to go, there's so much momentum behind him right now.
I really feel like that momentum started on the island in game number 9, where they were able to hold off Peterbot's trio and kind of bully them off of Rift Island. And to see them now finally get their victory royale after getting 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place. This is what we have been waiting for. I can only imagine how Clix's channel is popping off right now. You'll love to see it, Vivid.
Yeah, I mean, incredible stuff, right? But what a weird game, because I feel like all of the 9 games before this, we've seen trios alive, right? All of the big name trios. There's been a solo clutch here and there, but that game right there, it was like there were no fully kitted, fully healthy trios kind of alive in that end game, of course, except for Flix, Batman, Booga, and Diamzo right there, surviving on the low ground, finding the eliminations, just staying up as a trio. That's what won the game for them. Congratulations.
Question is though, Viv, is it enough?
I know.
Are we closing that gap to second place? I'll tell you the answer after this short break. Don't you go anywhere. Be right back. Welcome back to the FNCS. That's it for the FNCS. See you guys in Major 2. All right, bye. Okay, so we obviously had an unbelievable game, right? Iamzo clicks Batman Booga. They give themselves a victory royale in game number 10. Going into this game, there was a very clear, defined lead. And with that game, suddenly, this trio are now looking to contend with Peterbot. We are only 30 points behind Peterbot. Kelly, are you seeing the beauty of my script? I write it so that clicks beats Peterbot. Are you seeing the beauty of my script?
You know, I complimented you yesterday on it, but today this really is your magnum opus, a beautiful cinema if there ever was one. And it's still not over yet, right? We're jumping the gun a little bit here. There is still 2 more games to go, but I mean, Vivid, for me, the story is, it's a little bit of a 2-parter where it's not just what is Clicks, Batman Booga, and Iamzo doing right, but also where is Ritual Cold and Peterbot falling short?
Yeah, I mean, right now we're kind of talking about this, right? Like the lead between first and second place. I mean, Ager's Acorn and Poyo, they just look untouchable. I mean, nothing is faulting them. They were low on mats that game. They did not go down at all. I think it was like 7th or 6th, and it was like Yeah, he's got like 60 builds. Like this rotate looks nearly impossible. And then like a zone later, you tune back with them and it's like, yeah, they're still the same mats and they're just fishing. Like everything's completely fine. All three of them were just fishing. I don't know. What it is, this trio just has everything kind of figured out. Doesn't matter what position they're in, they're just gonna go for it. They've got some plan. Honestly, it's just got to be the elims, right? They just so cohesive as a trio. Obviously, Aegis just somehow continues to find himself alive as a solo and continue to put up some points. They look untouchable. With only 2 games left, yet 130 point lead. There would have to be something dramatic to happen for this trio to fall out of first place.
I mean, honestly, Vivid, I think what you talked about at the start of the show really hit the nail on the head right here. How they're able to kind of just, you know, have so much control over on the west side of the map, being able to farm up while Agers and Poyo are able to get these tags just allows them such an ease into the middle and late game. And although we haven't seen a win from this trio, it doesn't really matter, especially when they're able to make it to the end game time and time again and get those eliminations as well. I mean, but Zeke, this isn't just a story of who's getting first, although obviously that is where the prestige is. This is who is going to the global championships.
I mean, look, we're fighting for it, right? I mean, to have this come down to this, 2 games left to go, and now Clix jumps up. But I also want to turn attention there to 4th place, right? Rapid, Kanata, Bolts, they jump up 4 placements. Now, they are still, what is that, like 61 points behind 3rd place. But anything can still happen, right? We could still see that gap be closed within a single game, right? And to see like Kanata and his trio just firing on all cylinders, like how many times in these like now 10 games have we been like, oh, time to cut to the wide shot, let's see where everyone's located. You just look up, you're like, yep, there they are on height once again. Like, I'm happy to see them performing so well right now, and to know they're only 61 points behind. They could look to make a strike.
100%. And honestly, to see them go from 7th after day 1 to now in 4th place, just 30 points away, or I'm sorry, just a handful of points away from our 1st and 2nd place. I love to see it. Bolts here doing a good job, as you could in a 1v3. Obviously, there's only so much you can do in that situation. But I mean, like you said, they're constantly in the high ground there. I think maybe they need to just wait a little bit longer, be a little bit more patient, like what we've seen from Muzz's trio. But still, they're clearly climbing up the leaderboard right now, and that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing well. And speaking about the leaderboard, I think the one thing that we're going to have to focus on, Zeke, of course, game number 11. It's going to be Peterbot, Golden Ritual versus Clix, Batman, Bugha, and Niamzo, right? There's going to be a lot of pressure being put on the Peterbot's trio. Those last 2 couple of games, those early fights were not being found. The Storm Surge, for the first time, probably all of this season, they were below Storm Surge. Right now, Clix, Batman, Bugha, and Niamzo, it looks like they have a serious, real chance to go ahead and take that 2nd place spot.
And I love that Kelly called this out, right? This started in game 9. This started when Clix took the fight to Peterbot on that island.
Yeah.
And it proved gods can bleed. What does that mean for these last 2 games? Will Clix do it again? If he can look to push Peterbot off, he could qualify to the global championships. That is crazy with 2 games left to go. My stress levels are through the roof. With that being said, though, it's okay. You're fine. You find your seat on the bus. Monster D-Face, Jacob PR, they'll talk us through the action. I'll be right back. Have fun. Good luck. Good luck.
Zeke always with the fadeaway as well. Game number 11's here. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, Jacob. And they said it correctly. One little engagement can change the entire course for a trio, and it all went downhill on that island.
Yeah, it went downhill fast, and that's bleeding into some of these other games. Zeke saying he can't take it. My heart can't handle this either, but there's only 2 more games left. This is where it comes down to playing as perfect as possible. And a lot of that comes with this next opportunity, because the battle bus is ready, Monster. Let's get into it.
Major 1 finals, game 11 is here, and we get to take to the storm, or to the world, I should say, first. Once again, I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be cutting up the upper half, so teams like Peterbot, of course, will be able to touch down first at the Flooded Frogs. Will we see DC, Noah, and their team kind of mix it up once again here? All of these conversations will start to play out here shortly as we jump in, but we do have to ask that question. What will Cold, Ritual, and Peterbot do? How are they going to adjust their gameplay? What can they adjust in order to kind of complete the strategy and get back on the right side of the damage in the early game?
That's just kind of be a little bit more proactive and not necessarily, I feel like, have a one-sided game plan. A lot of their early game surge comes down to those box-to-box fights, and right now they're either not necessarily getting as much damage as they want, even if they pick up the eliminations, or they're not getting those exchanges at all due to so many other teams switching up their drop spots altogether. But Pollo, Agers, Acorn, business as usual. The clear split, but the new fight that we saw the end of the last game, and we see the end again. Visuals, Braids, and Diminish have come out in the second half of the day looking for revenge.
You can see on Visual's face that smug smile creeping through as he dances at the Foxy, just knowing like, yup, we did that twice in a row. It's our drop now.
Got to be feeling good. It almost makes you wonder, like, if he would have stuck to his original game plan, landing over here. It's a good spot. Foxy Floodgates, a lot of material resources and positioning center of the map as we move on over to Hopeful Heights. Something that we've seen for at least maybe 9, 10 of these games so far, because I know some of these people switched up their drop. The Skater with a flank onto Chaos. He's trying to get out, but Dash is there on the other side as well, and he gets taken down. Great move by Chaos Gaming, causing that amount of chaos in such a tight situation and able to come out with a knock.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the story of this trio right here, right? They've kind of mixed things up. They recognize, like, hey, if we could beat a team at a different drop, we could beat the team at our drop. Let's just play a little bit faster, and that's kind of what Noah's team has seemed to do, and it has been working out well so far.
Straight games this time around, going towards the south portion of the map, over towards the Bird, contesting Aoxy Pikes and Jojo Fishy. Neither team really getting elimination. That's going to force out, kind of disengage, kind of return back to looting, grabbing your resources, materials, but there's so many early game scuffles going down. They realize with only 2 games left, there's only so much time, only so many points on the map to really make up any bit of deficit. Aaron's down, Joji's following, Drewbot, Clixie, and Prez are making good work early on.
This is good for them. I would say bad for others in the area that have been depending on kind of rotating in and finding these battles ongoing, or those weekend players in the field like Peterbot and team have been doing when they've gone to the west side. So we'll see how these little things start to affect the overall scheme of things. For Yamzo, Batman, Booga, and Clicks, though, the Lost Lake, it's already yielded them a pretty decent loadout, but they have to get to the action here as well.
Yeah, you see them all the way going towards the western side of the map. A lot of those teams whiffy and so on, but Noah, he's already the first one taken down. That was Nut and his team that was able to get that elimination. And right now they finished the fight.